All right, I hit
enter
start.
full screen. Okay, hold on. First things first. We got to do an Instagram
Oh, wait. What
thingy
is
majiggy.
my
Yes.
Oh, nothing. The OBS just has like a notification.
God, I'm trying to get it. God damn it! I can never. All right, big boy.
What?
Give me a flex or something. Well, give me. Is that your left arm? Do a left. Yeah, yeah. Watch arm. Left arm. Do it. Oh shit. I like it. That was a super bad pose, sir.
This is
Okay.
my Pride Month shirt, by the way. Have you noticed it? Wait,
While you're
the thing
busy.
is away.
Oh, bro. Oh, bro. This is heavy. This is heavy. um.
So yeah, there's
post here.
there's
Post live.
people watching.
I'm just gonna put we are live. Hey.
All
This
right.
might be a good time, huh? We are live. That's it.
We are live
How's everybody doing?
from the
How's
sold
everybody
out.
doing?
What is it? From
Yes.
the sold out
Arena.
something arena.
T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this.
It's time.
It's time.
5 rounds in the light heavyweight division. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a shame that this shirt is like, because I don't have the boom mic stand. I just have this regular, here does not come the boom.
Oh, that's that movie with Kevin, whatever the fuck is his name, right?
Yeah, it's also that awful song that used to intro the UFC.
Which one?
Boom, here comes the boom. Ready or
Oh
not.
god, dude, that was like OG. That was like Andrei Arlovsky days.
Yeah, that's like the
man.
Just Bleed
just
original.
We are
Okay. So anyway, I guess before we get in, so we missed the month of May. I was waiting for you to bother me about.
I was going to do it, and I just got busy at the end
Okay.
of that month. So,
That's
but
good,
yes,
you
were on my mind.
I did kind of carve time out, even though I was basically moving. But now it's June, and we couldn't miss.
No way.
That.
No way.
Because
big month.
My birthday was.
Oh fuck,
3 days
Kyle!
ago.
I was just gonna. God damn it! I forgot. Wait, so is it Danny's birthday that's in July then, or is he also June and we just missed it?
Oh, I don't remember.
We're terrible bros. This is horrible. Happy belated birthday, bro. Love you. You got a big cock. We appreciate you. We love your science stuff. We love your channel.
Thank you.
This last video was great. Happy belated birthday. How does it feel? How does it feel? Did you do anything?
Nope. No, actually, what I went to do. Oh, you know what I did? It's related to your T-shirt. So I was gonna say this, and then I got caught up in like all the stuff I was trying to set up. I went to see. Do you know the company Fathom Events? We already talked about this. It's a movie theater. Sure. They basically coordinate. Movie theaters. Sometimes they show old movies, or foreign movies.
I live between two like that, so I'm kind of lucky. And being in LA, I go all the time to do that stuff. So I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a company that specifically does that called Fathom Events, and they do like old movies, like classics, anime. They bring anime movies that like otherwise wouldn't be shown in America. Some new, some old. So like, something that comes out in Japan in 2018, like later in 2018, they will bring it here, or something that's like 20 years old. Anyway, it was the 25th anniversary of The Fifth Element.
Oh yeah, you know what? It's playing here. That's why it's playing here.
Yes.
Because, like I said, I literally live a few blocks from a movie theater that does that, and I was just noticing. I was like, I wonder if there's like some sort of special thing going on. But that's why it's playing. Okay.
So I saw.
How was it?
It
still holds up.
It holds up really well.
Yeah, it's good. I always thought that movie would hold up at least for a couple decades. It's good. It was well done.
They do a lot of. I think they do a lot of practical special effects and stuff that ages better than like the heavy computer
And like all the alien people they're not like so over the top that they need to be CGI'd and they look
Yeah,
fake.
yeah.
They're just really good costumes, basically, right? Like as far
Yes.
as I remember, like the little trolls or whatever that work for the bad guys, they're just big faces, like these ugly
Yeah,
potato
they're like
things.
the animal type guys, and then the kind of good aliens you don't see that much, but they have big fat suits and they're like robot
Yeah,
heads,
yeah.
and they just
It
walk around
looks
real slow.
That's nice. I gotta go see that too. It's been years, man. Fucking
You
years
know
since I've
what
seen
killed
that.
me though is a few years ago, probably 2018, he came out with another sci-fi movie that used this
Oh
similar
no.
style. And I
Oh no.
remember I was in a Facebook group, and one of the guys in there was like, "Oh, I just saw this movie. It really sucked." And I was like, "Psh, this guy must be an idiot. Luc Besson doesn't make bad movies."
Oh, sorry, brother. He
And
does.
I went to see it, and I was flabbergasted. I was like, "What's happening on the
Yeah,
screen?"
it happens a lot, brother. I think that Leon and that 25th or 25th Fifth Element might be his only good movies,
Well,
bro.
didn't he also do La Femme Nikita?
Yeah, but that's like 90s. I wonder. Okay, okay, true. I wonder how that one has aged. That was great when it came out. It was great. Okay, so three.
Yeah.
We should look up what else has he done. Okay, I'm gonna see. Luc Besson. Luc
But yeah,
Besson.
this one, it was kind of like The Fifth Element, except the star was that little guy that played um, in the Spider-Man movies, not the Tobey Maguire and not the current ones, but the ones in between with and
I know the face, but I
Garfield.
don't know. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. Garfield. That guy.
It was the guy who plays Harry, his rich friend or whatever.
I'm not a Spider-Man kind of
You
guy.
know
You know
the
that.
Green
So.
Goblin, and he has a son who's like best friends with Spider-Man.
Oh, you're talking about James Franco?
But it was the guy who played James Franco's role in the after Tobey Maguire, whatever. It doesn't
Don't know
matter. The
those
point
ones.
it's
That's what
just
I'm
this
saying.
like kind of
Mm-hmm.
middle
Mm-hmm.
range actor, and they had him play like a sci-fi hero, kind of like Fifth Element, and the special effects and the world building was like Fifth Element. That's why I thought it would be cool. But there was just no
Did he
movie.
also do Lucy? Oh, he did Lucy, didn't he? Oh, that's a terrible fucking movie. Remember that one
No,
with Scarlett Johansson?
I don't.
She's like whatever. She has like these insane powers. It was fucking
She has
shit.
powers in
Yeah.
another. She has to like have more super.
Not pussy powers. We're talking about other powers, like.
So, because is this before or after she started playing the Marvel?
This probably before. It's
Oh,
2014.
somebody just said it. Valerian City is the
Stop it.
Luc
It was terrible.
Besson that was like 4 years ago that was really bad.
Yeah, yeah. I couldn't even. I couldn't even. I tried for like a minute, and I was like, I'm good. Yeah, you got. You got. Okay, so look, Fifth Element is a fucking classic,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and it was probably like ahead of its time.
Oh yeah.
But if we're talking about overall artistic style, script, actors, well, although Gary Oldman is also in the Fifth Element,
Uh-huh.
but just Gary Oldman's role in Leon, it's just like so fucking good that it's just like,
It is.
oh, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So we have to admit that Leon is probably his masterpiece, probably his. Uh,
Um.
come on, come on,
Yes,
yes,
but
yes.
there's also like some troubling, like
What? What?
let's say like
Oh God.
themes that could
Between
be
him and the girl.
related with like Ghislaine Maxwell's trial in
Yes, but it's what's her name by the way?
that was Portman, right? Natalie Portman.
Yeah,
That was
Natalie
like her
Portman.
first
It's
role.
it's Natalie Portman, and she's vegan. It doesn't count, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it kind of
She's
doesn't count,
like a real child.
but it just seems like it's a little
Yes, I know what you're
it's a
saying.
little, but because he's French, right?
Yes,
Besson.
Besson, Luc
And
Besson.
yeah, they're just like that way.
Correct. I mean, still holds up, fucking great. I've seen it maybe a year or two ago. I think maybe it was like just as the pandemic was starting and there was nothing to do. I think I rewatched it with a friend and I was like, fuck, it's still good.
Hmm.
The music, fucking Sting at the end. That's not the fucking whatever of my heart.
Yeah. 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 No, I liked that.
Yeah. Classic.
Hey, we got
Without,
the classic question. I think I just realized now that we get this question every time we stream. Can
What's
you
that?
guys tell me what you guys eat? I am just curious and also want to learn something.
People just want like something like, ah.
You know what I just had? I just had 4 eggs scrambled in
It's a
butter
lot. It's a lot.
with corn tortillas,
Ooh.
and so I just put
Real
those.
ones, or like are they like the ones that it's like corn tortillas, but you flip it over, it's like corn, wheat flour,
No, no, no.
like other.
It's just corn. It does have like one of the gums or something, but whatever.
Mhm.
Uh,
It's not that I'm like, but it's just they do make a fucking difference. Those like real corn tortillas
mhm.
in a fresh taco.
Well,
Oh man, it's
if you put corn tortillas that are really corn in a toaster oven just to warm them up, they warm up and it's nice. But if you put wheat tortillas,
no,
they like bubble up.
it's not good. Yes.
It does something
Okay, so you
weird.
had 4 eggs, corn
Yeah, a
tortillas.
little bit of cheese. That was it basically. That was what I had
That's
for
it.
like
That was kind of.
late
Is that
lunch,
your
early
first meal of the
dinner.
day?
No, no, my first meal was man, I don't even remember. Oh, you know what I've been eating?
Mm.
I finally found something frozen that I could eat for breakfast that's half
Oh,
decent, which is Red's
oh,
all natural burritos.
oh yeah, I used to eat those back in the day, dude. They're old school. You
Yeah,
haven't heard of those?
I've
They're
been
all over here.
I've been saving the Reds points because after I had eaten like 50 of these things, I noticed that they have a little like number 2 points on there, and I was like,
50.
huh. So I go on the website and it's just like t-shirts and stuff, and then there's this pillow that's like a burrito but it's a pillow, and I was
Mhm.
like, okay, I need that. And so you need like 200 points and you get 2 points, so I need to eat 100 burritos
That's
since
not
I
that
started
much though.
saving them. I have
That's
like
not that
I
much.
have like 70 or 80 points, so I'm
They're
on my
kind
way.
like from what I remember, they're kind of thin. They're not like super big, right? They're kind of like on the thinner
Yeah, yeah,
side,
yeah,
or
they're like a
yeah, yeah,
breakfast
yeah.
burrito type
But
size.
I'm saying like if you're really hungry, you could eat like 2 a day for sure. You
For
could
sure, yeah,
do
that's kind of
2.
my strategy.
What did I have? I had also 2 eggs, banana, coffee, espresso with milk. I think that was breakfast. And then I just got, and I knew we were streaming, so I didn't want to like cook anything. I just picked up some like sushi, just salmon sushi with avocado. And then I had an apple and a banana. And I'm having some agua fresca, señor.
Hmm.
Muy bien. Mhm. That's all I've had today.
Somebody said, "Let's hear more of Leo singing, and can we have more impressions, Leo?" Question mark.
Boom, 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 boom. That song. Tell me it's not a good song. Sting, are you a Sting fan or no? You're in the you. By the way, if people don't know, Kyle was like a classically trained guitarist, right? Right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I'm saying Sting is kind of in your atmosphere there because he's kind, his guitar playing is not fucking at all. I mean, although the songs that are famous are probably more on the towards the blues, or whatever, rock and roll kind of
Hmm.
end, but it's a lot of classical kind of based guitar playing.
Yeah, the Police were a band where it was like a pop band that had real musicians. Like the drummer
Yes.
was accomplished as
Hmm.
a musician. I don't know as much about the bass player, but
Well, Sting was playing bass for I mean, when he plays live, he's usually playing bass, and then if he
oh,
does solo song, he'll play the
mhm.
guitar. I would probably say I've seen him in concert a couple times. I'd probably say probably like 80% of the time he's on the bass,
Oh.
and then he has like guitar players behind him. But obviously he can play acoustic live.
Mhm.
And I've seen him actually do a show. He did like a show here. It was just songs of his that he wrote about his like shithole little town in England or
Mm.
whatever. And yeah, it's just him like I said, like he has like a classical guitar and he's just, playing it and singing over top of it. But it's really good if you're into that kind of shit.
Yeah, I wonder what I can do with this thing without the. Nope. Okay.
No, I don't tilt it.
I don't want to. I'm like sitting up straight without.
Yeah, dude, I know that's one thing. This is like a mini couch that I have, by the way,
Yeah, that's cool.
I don't really have a
I
chair
could kind of.
Did you
Wait, wait.
you brought that chair with you, right? So hold on. You're like out of Florida for good. Like there's nothing there of yours anymore. It doesn't belong
That's
to you.
correct.
Damn. So how much do you miss that heat?
Oh, not at all. Um,
I-
yeah, there's a lot of things that I don't miss about Florida. But you know what I miss? The town that I was in, St. Cloud, had this little lake. Well, I guess it was a normal sized lake.
Hey, I've been there. I don't know if you
Oh,
know
that's
this.
right. Oh, and the beach. So the
Yeah.
beach.
And that one waitress at that one restaurant.
Crabby Bills.
She was great. Crabby
It's
Bills.
a good place to get crabs.
But not the rice. Not the rice.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking asshole Kyle. That was such a Kyle moment. We're sitting at the restaurant ordering food. I order my meal. You get 2 sides or something like that, right? And I get rice, and I don't remember the other one. And then what's another side there?
Oh, like mashed potatoes or something.
Okay, mashed potatoes and then rice, and then he brings me the food, and then I have my main meal. I have my mashed potatoes, and I get my rice. The guy walks away, and Kyle goes, "Yeah, I was gonna tell you not to order that rice because it's not good." And I'm looking at this asshole like, "Yeah, you should have told me not to order this rice before I ordered it, bro. Or as I'm ordering it." But you just let me order it, and I thought that was great.
Yeah, well, it's a little awkward to interrupt when there's a waitress there and be like, "Oh no, that item's bad."
Well, what's he gonna do? Go fucking back to the kitchen and be like, "Guys, your rice is so bad. Oh my god, this one guy out here wearing a while you're busy being heterosexual shirt. He says your fucking rice is terrible."
Well, actually, it was. I had it before and I didn't like it, but then even a waitress even said it was bad one time. I was with some other friends and somebody was like, "Hey, what sides do you like?" And she was like, "Anything but the rice."
Nice.
Somebody said, "Can you guys talk about the things you take regularly, as in like Tren and stuff, like our supplements, our stack?"
Just Frenbolone, Anavar.
Wait. Just basics.
Yes.
Just basics. D-ball,
the basics.
D-ball, Teth,
D-ball, Teth.
Tren.
Like, that's all he mentioned too, right? It's like, dude, that's not even the basics. Like, hold on, there's way more. This is the basics.
The sun is like, did you see this? Like just now.
Yes, it's beautiful.
This is a wacky place up here. I got this.
No, I kind of like it, honestly. You look like, what is the word? Ominous? No, ominous? Like
angelic?
Holy? Angelic. Not that. What does ominous mean?
It's like more like a dark, scary.
Oh, well, you're a little ominous. You got a little bit of ominous and that angelic. I think with supplements, you and I tend to rotate stuff and sometimes take stuff, sometimes not take stuff, right?
Yeah,
have you been taking anything recently?
Yeah, I just now got situated and have been taking magnesium. I have magnesium glycinate that I take probably 200 to 300 milligrams, depending on how many capsules I manage to remember to take throughout the day.
So you don't do it just at bedtime, you do it throughout the day?
Yeah, I space it out. And then I usually have a bottle of K2 around and CoQ10.
Wow, CoQ10, damn.
And
some Dave Asprey shit right there.
Oh, I just got a bottle of vitamin E mixed.
A new one?
Tocopherols.
Do you do the creamy stuff or?
It's a capsule. It's
Oh, it is a capsule? Oh, okay.
Oh, what's it called? I forget the brand, but it's been around for a while.
Thorn?
No.
Perhaps. I got that. I have Thorn, vitamin E. I haven't been taking magnesium in a long time.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. I made a post about it.
That's right.
I went through a super magnesium phase. One time I took a bunch of magnesium, and it wasn't crazy amounts. It's just I've been taking it like regularly, and then maybe I took one extra capsule of magnesium, and then I arrive at Whole Foods, and as soon as I told you the story, right? Yeah, I was like, if I don't shit right now, I'm gonna shit all over the place, and I literally ran to their bathroom, and I was like, where's the bathroom? Where's the bathroom? And it's like, it was one of those smaller Whole Foods that has like a bathroom. It's like fucking whatever, like on the other side of the corner. You got to go through to the back. And I was like literally running to the bathroom, praying like, please don't nobody be in the bathroom. Please don't anybody be in the bathroom. And then I shit all over the place. And then I was like, yeah, maybe this is a little too much magnesium.
Yeah.
I fuck with vitamin C if I feel a little something, like a little cold or whatever. I think vitamin C honestly is my most
ascorbic acid or whole food vitamin C?
Oh my god! Oh my god! Not the ascorbic acid. Tell you the truth, I have both. So,
Yeah.
but I'm not. You should explain that for people, Science Daddy. Explain that for us.
Well, the real
The
simple.
whole.
So I don't actually have a very strong opinion on. I would guess that so-called whole food vitamin C is probably better because not just vitamin C and not just everything that's called vitamin something or any mineral is either a cofactor or has cofactors or is part of a cofactor complex for some type of reaction, usually enzymatic. And in the case of vitamin C, it also does stuff on its own, as oxidative chemistry, as an antioxidant. It's actually kind of oxidized things too. It's the redox anyway. But what it's named after, just to be real clear, it's named vitamin C, and then it was called ascorbic acid because it was anti-scorbitic, whatever the word is that they used to say for opposing scurvy. So it was
In Russia, there's a candy called askarbinka.
Yeah.
Which is named after that.
So it was named after when the one compound that could prevent scurvy in people that were not eating fresh food, mostly ships, long distance travel for several months on a ship with where they would run out of fresh food and just have to have dried meat and stuff that can, because before refrigeration, yada yada. So I think linguistically or semantically, vitamin C, because it was literally named for the scurvy, the anti-scorbitic activity, is just ascorbic acid. But it does a lot of things. It also stimulates collagen production, and ascorbic acid by itself does. At least I've seen papers where just that stimulates collagen production. And I'm sure there's things that it does, that it requires blah 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 ceruloplasmin and
the whole food.
Yeah. Which only makes sense. But again, what I want to emphasize is that vitamin C or vitamin like K2, because people that's a cofactor with blah blah blah, like they all are. So there's really nothing like if you just open up a biochemistry textbook, and a good one, and they have cartoons of like what the B vitamins do or something. There'll be an enzyme, and then there'll be like this is a B vitamin, but it's like part of a 3 reactions that require like maybe another B vitamin as a cofactor in the reaction before that, that makes the thing that goes on, and this one's like copper dependent or the blah blah blah. So that's what I think about that. But I mean, just as a matter of course, I guess if there's like ascorbic acid in some whole food matrix, that's probably better.
Did you ever get into Linus Pauling's work and stuff, or just read his book?
No, I never read his book. Just the kind of common stuff everybody knows.
Yeah, I mean, it's basic stuff. But that guy lived a pretty fucking long time. Just the basics. He took a lot of vitamin C.
Didn't he take like diarrhea levels though?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Fucking crazy amounts. But anyway, he lived pretty long time, and I don't know. I don't see.
He lived for.
I'm not sure. He lived for a long time. Just doing the basics. Dude, that's funny. You bring that up. You reminded me. Just the other day, I found this random, like, it has almost no views on YouTube. I don't even know if I can find it now, but this Franco Colombo video of him doing a seminar.
Nice.
And he's talking about it with his like Italian accent. He's like steroids. They don't do nothing. They don't work. It's just like. It's really funny, It's just hilarious. It's like maybe in the late 80s, I would say, early 90s. And this guy, I mean, you could argue that he's doing that for people's safety and health, but it's like, God, dude.
Maybe he meant the steroids don't work out for you.
Yeah, well, no, he for sure didn't do that. Somebody asked him a question, what about steroids? And he's just like, listen, they don't work. You don't need to take them. They don't really do anything. It's just hard work, blah, blah. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
It's just eating.
Just hard work,
it's just
baby.
the basic. Just
Chicken,
hard
broccoli,
work.
and rice.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Remember that guy?
Yes.
Good fucking morning.
God damn it.
God damn it.
So I'm not. Somebody asked about the vitamin D3 thing. I honestly, I thought I talked about that before, and I never want to talk about that.
What an answer. Agnostic? You want to say agnostic on it?
Okay. Here's what I can say. The thing
Yes.
that rocketed vitamin D into its popularity in around 2011 or so was a change in the guidelines for intake. That basically took. It was like, if they changed the and they do this sometimes, like the fasting blood glucose for pre-diabetic, like they might drop it by a few milligrams per deciliter because, I don't know, they get a bunch of studies that's like, oh, well, actually people in this group that are just a little bit lower, they kind of go on to get diabetes too. So we should consider that pre-diabetes. This stuff happens all the time, but they changed the vitamin D blood level to be sufficient in amount at which it took, I don't remember exactly, but say only 0.25% of the population would have been considered deficient or less to like flipped it. So it's like 75% or more now are considered deficient just overnight because, and that was like the big spark that people started talking about it. And then like when I went to the first Ancestral Health Symposium in 2011, there was a guy that was just had the most droning talk ever. I should go back and find out who it was. He was like older guy. And he was talking about vitamin D and like it was the most important thing, like how everybody talks about their pet molecule.
Yeah.
And it just went on from there. And then,
Yeah, functional doctors and all that stuff started really promoting that, and it's because they can do a blood test. Oh, you need to be prescribed this, blah, blah, blah. It's real simple and straightforward. Plus you have, that guideline that's been changed.
Yeah, I don't think taking vitamin D is bad. Like if you take vitamin D and you have a good result, you take like a normal supplemental amount, then that's probably good. And if you get sunlight, you probably don't need to take it.
Yep.
And that's really
maybe if you're drinking low-fat milk, like a lot of the repeaters are, right? There's I don't know how much of it is there, but there's some vitamin D3 in there too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Somebody said Pauly and Aurelius get plenty of vitamin D. Winky face.
Pauly salad?
Yeah.
All right, you guys.
They get
vitamin D3 is bullshit.
They get vitamin D, if you know what I mean.
Oh, vitamin D! I get it.
Man, people are just hitting with the questions.
Well, we're a popular, podcast.
We're not.
Top 5 at least. What are you talking about?
Any tips for insomnia? There are so many. Insomnia is one of those things that, like, insomnia and like digestive issues, and what else? There's like a few things where there's like literally 1,000 things people say, oh, it's this. Like, oh, do this. Everybody.
Do this. Just take some magnesium. Yeah, I mean, start with the basic stuff, right? Just the basic. Well, like my point is, like, if you're having insomnia, like I don't think that having taken 600 milligrams of fucking magnesium is gonna make you fall asleep like that. Although some people do say that, right? But I think that's more of a placebo thing going on there.
The questioner said that they're on what's that, Zopiclone? That's probably in America. That's probably Zahep. It's the one that's not Ambien. It's like Zaloplan or something. They're both like hypnotics or something.
Yeah, dude, I do not fuck with that stuff. I am very. I've had some clients that have had some weird stories with that shit. Joe Rogan's talked about his friends that have had some weird experiences with that shit. I don't know. I think it's like there's so, like you said, so many things that could you could try before you try that shit. You know, like there's like a lot of stuff you
Well,
could do.
the thing about insomnia is that I think it's pretty obvious that it is like a stress thing, you know, and like a lack of energy with neurons. But what's less obvious is how to fix that, because
Yeah.
you could say, you know, make sure you're getting enough calories and maybe eat a little snack right before bed that has carbs and salt. That's like a classic one. You know, make sure you're getting enough protein, take
Yeah.
some
Don't
glycine and magnesium.
turn your computers off. Wear your red
Right. All
blockers.
that. That's all like kind of low hanging fruit. But if you do all
Mhm.
that stuff and nothing happens, it's like, I don't know.
But have they done all this stuff? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if a lot of people are truly, you know, like, look,
Somebody that's like
I have a,
watching us stream right now is
Mhm.
probably tried most of the.
You think so? I don't know. Look, I love my brother. I have a brother. And he'll tell you that he does all of that. But I know my brother, he stays up till 2 a.m. on YouTube watching retarded videos of Russians doing crazy stuff. And he'll tell you the next day that he's not doing that stuff. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Love him. I don't think he'll be watching this. Hopefully. If you are, I love you, bro.
Yeah,
I'm just saying the big stuff, like work out early in the morning. Don't sleep in, you know, super late. Even if you're having insomnia, try to get to bed early. Try to get up early. I think that's better than than Kyle's schedule. Like, you know, but Kyle can fall asleep at any fucking time of the day,
right.
right? You can go to sleep at 3 a.m. and sleep until 12, still get your 8 or 10
Yeah.
hours. But for the people that are super sensitive, it's better to go to bed before midnight, way before midnight, maybe 10, and try to wake up early. Try to get that cycle going. Have that same timing. I'm just saying. I don't know. A lot of people say that, you know, bro, I'm eating and I'm telling you, I'm not getting a six pack. I'm telling you, I'm eating in a low calorie deficit. I'm telling you. And you're like, are you? And you're like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? You know those. You know what I mean? Not to like pick at any people, but I'm just
Right.
saying. I think
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah,
really,
there's like
really trying and really being honest with
a big
yourself.
amount
That's
of
all.
people that know things but don't
Yeah.
actually do them or don't try them for, you know,
And
long
it's
enough.
understandable
Yeah.
why. Yes. Not trying to pick at people, but it's just, you know, try to stick to it for a while.
Yeah.
What else? You got any tips for
I mean,
insomnia?
you could try ASMR.
Oh, get a nice Russian girl just like scratching
Yeah.
the microphone.
There's some more scientific ones too that, you know, I mean, I don't know how scientific. You can find a study about anything, you know, but
Of course.
stuff that's has some type of evidence about brain waves and sound, you know, that would bring your
Yes.
brain
What is that?
into the alpha sleep, early sleep stage more. There's
I have
there's
this
also
machine.
there's some exercises you can do with your eyeballs. Like I remember I was reading a book about hypnosis, and if you like try to look at your eyebrows, you know, just throw your eyes to the back of your head for
Hmm.
like a pretty long time, like uncomfortably long.
Hmm.
I think that sort of resets like a brainwave thing where it kind of brings
Hmm.
the brain down to like whatever the alpha first sleep stage.
Yeah, there's some awesome like recordings, whatever. I mean, I was gonna say CDs, but then I was like, hold on, nobody uses those anymore. But there are lots of stuff like that, like you're saying, that will bring you into the alpha. What is that? I have it on my phone, I think. This little brainwave thing that you're talking about, that where they play Monroe products. You ever heard of that? Hemisync. You ever heard of that?
No.
They have some good stuff. I like their music. There's some good music. How do they explain it? Mm, so it's like binaural beats, as far as I remember, unless I'm understanding it and remembering it incorrectly. But I think the music, you know, you put on headphones. You need like real headphones. You put on headphones, and I think on one
Ah,
side,
yes.
do you know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about? The music's
binaural.
playing a
Yeah.
little bit faster or a little bit slower. And so same thing. The idea is that it's trying to, you know, relax your brain, blah, blah, blah. But I think whether it works or not, they have like some really awesome, just relaxing music and some meditations that you can use. And it's Monroe
Hmm.
Products is the thing. Hemisync is like they patented the word, but there's lots of similar stuff out there like
It's a
that.
Hemi.
But I like Hemi. It's a Hemi, baby.
Somebody asked about the recent upload on negative health paradigms. Pete almost transcends this by basing his worldview on creating more energy/life. Can't help but notice Ray doesn't have kids though. Yes, that's what I
Yeah.
said, any ideas how to make a positive health paradigm? He's still typing, so
Okay.
anyway, I don't think anything that has been devised in America is that way, because it's like all individualist stuff. So it's because the thing about food, you probably have experienced this where you came from. Like, it's a communal thing.
Yeah, it's a different experience here.
And so, but all of the kind of like diets and the ideas are, even if, they were developed outside of America to some extent, they're American. Like an example of Americanism, it's like, oh, I am a vegetarian. I don't eat meat. This is like an individual lifestyle choice I'm making, and it's not about, and that's totally different than if there's some, religious, cultural sect in India that's vegetarian. As a culture, those are two extremely different things. And so, yeah, I think that just all of the, what I was trying to say is that it's like a diet stuff, like negative diet stuff is like a proxy religion or whatever, a neo-religion, and that you have to like have something other than the diet thing for the diet, like an example of a positive, okay, would be actually, and this isn't necessarily the healthiest lifestyle, but if you go on a bodybuilding forum, okay, their diet ideas are in service to something. So, and it's not always like, if they're like, oh, I'm trying to eat 300 grams of protein per day, it's like, maybe that's not actually healthy.
Right. But they're not thinking about that. They're thinking about the end goal, which is being shredded, being big, being as big as possible, as lean as possible, right? So you're saying that they have a overarching or whatever idea.
So, but they don't really have, they don't have the problem of like sort of worshiping their diet. Like, if they want to try something else for different results, they'll just change what they're doing, because the diet isn't the end unto itself, or like, so anyway, having a relationship like that with diet, where it's integrated into your life in some other way than as like the end goal. I don't think there's anything really like that.
Any other diets like that, you were saying?
Well, yeah, because the concept of a diet is, it can't really be set up that way, the way that we have it now. But I guess, yeah, like when people, do like anti-stress, or, everything kind of has that verbiage, even antioxidant. Like, imagine somebody saying, I'm taking pro-reductants. Like, it's, it's just like this weird linguistic thing.
It's just basic.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know why we're getting all these questions. What do you think that we're here for?
Top 5.
We have a topic that I spent time taking notes on.
Shit, and, my man. You can, we can do the questions later if you want, or whatever you want, sir. Oh, you got really close to the camera. I'm getting a little sweaty here. What's going on?
This is like a weird angle. All right. So, deuterium.
Yes. Deuterium.
How do you feel about it? Like, have you there's like Facebook groups for. Yeah. Have you been in any of those?
Yeah. Dude, I have a Facebook, but I haven't used it since like whatever the fuck. I don't know. I should check it more often. I don't know, but no. I used to buy the water here. I bought it before. Yeah, it was like $25 for whatever the standard was. That 16 ounces. 16 ounces. just to not like regularly because it's obviously $25 but it was a brand that it
Was
had
it really light?
everything. Oh, because deuterium was heavy. Well, you gotta break that down for us, Science Daddy. But before that, I'm just saying that I used to buy it, and but something happened with the brand. Maybe they got. I'm thinking probably somebody sued them, or maybe just the FDA or whatever doesn't want that word out there yet, like on bottles, because they used to say deuterium depleted water, everything legit. They even have they used to have the website on there. You could go and see the certificate. Like it seemed real. I mean, you never fucking know. But that's the question, though, right? It's also like how much depleted it was. That was something that I couldn't get to the answer.
I thought.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because 150, I think less than 150 parts per million is considered depleted. So what I'm saying is, if the water is 145 parts per million, it's deuterium depleted. But there's better deuterium depleted water, which is 5 parts per million.
Well,
so
that,
the less,
that may be impossible. But yes, you're right.
No, well, but you need insane machinery. I mean, I don't think that's sold commercially, obviously. My point is, anyways, what I was saying is, and then something happened and it just disappeared. And that same brand, they sell a water, but it says nothing about deuterium on it at all anymore. It's
Is
just
it still called? Was that light water? LITE?
I no, that doesn't ring a bell. I think it was something else. But I still see it every once in a while at some these posh health food stores. But like I said, it doesn't say anything about deuterium. I think it's just whatever. Some other fancy words on it, water, So I stopped buying it, so I haven't used it since then. So this was probably I don't know, 2 years ago, pre-pandemic. So yeah. I don't know, man.
Matt says light water sells 5 parts per million and 10. I didn't think that was possible.
See? How much is it, Matt? How much is it?
Because that really requires
insane machinery,
precision. Somebody asked, "What's a deuterium?" It's a.
Let's do that. Yeah, break it down for us, Science Daddy.
Yeah, so
Seriously.
It's a hydrogen atom that has a neutron instead of not having a neutron. So normally hydrogen is just a proton and an electron. So it's the smallest atom, atomic number 1, atomic weight 1 point many decimals, and then some other mass, negligible mass.
And it's made up of 3 parts.
So
right?
So deuterium is the proton with the neutron. So it's like the same thing as a hydrogen atom, except it weighs twice as much.
Yes, which is a big deal.
Matt says $19, right? About $19 a liter.
Wow, that's even cheap. A liter?
Yeah.
That's
a liter cola.
But I don't know. That almost sounds too good to be true. $19 a liter?
Yeah.
Because like I said, I used to buy it for but you know what? Hey, it could be just a price markup. I don't know, but it was $25 at least for a regular sized bottle of that shit.
Wasn't that a liter?
But no, not a liter. A liter is a fucking liter, dude. 16 ounces a liter?
Well, 16 ounces is 16
That's
ounces.
Not a liter, is it? Am I being retarded?
Well, we're going royal to metric.
Why do Americans got to do that shit?
16 ounces is the normal,
By the way, I just threw 16 ounces because that's what I thought, the regular. I'm just saying it was a regular sized bottle that you would buy for for yourself at a fucking grocery store that you're going to drink during lunch. That's what I'm saying. That's the size. I don't know the exact size it was. Is that 16 ounces bottle
That would
water?
probably be 8 ounces or 12. I don't know. I haven't tried liter. Somebody got my reference.
Look, 16 ounces bottled water. It's that little Tanger water. That's what came up.
Okay.
So that's 16 ounces.
Okay.
That's not a liter.
Yeah, you're right. But so what you're saying is you bought something more expensive, because if this is $19 for a liter.
Yes. No, I'm just saying. But what I was also saying, that it could be that I live in LA, and it could be that it was just an insane posh store that marked it up. So but maybe $19 for a liter is what it goes for, which is not
bad.
Matt
gave us the conversion. 16.9 ounces is 500 milliliters. So a liter would be 32.8.
Double. Yeah. So there we go. Matt, you're the fucking man. All right.
Matt with the math. Clutch. Okay, so all right. So people are talking about deuterium. I never got into it at all.
Have you tried it?
No.
Oh, you never even tried the water?
Never even tried it. I have had
What kind of
Heavy
scientist
water.
are you, Kyle?
Not. I don't think I ever drank it.
You tried
No,
drinking
no, no, no,
heavy
no.
water?
In the lab, I've
Oh,
used it.
I was like, what? So you're saying you've worked with heavy water in the laboratory?
Yeah, that's why I originally wanted to talk about it, because I always think it's interesting when I see something that is a popular, not that deuterium depleted water is very popular, but I just mean not discussed by scientists, but like popular culture, like popular music, like it's a something
Yes.
in the lay discussion about health. And then if I have some type of experience where I've worked with it, I always think that's interesting because, sometimes there's things that are kind of super made up about health stuff. But most of the time, really, there's very few things that are just totally made up. Usually something is,
There's some truth to
has
it.
like some type of thing that is heavily marketed or heavily interpreted through the marketing process as like,
But it doesn't really mean what it
yeah,
means as
like this
we,
will make you
want it to
healthy
mean.
or something.
Like Dave Asprey's fucking coffee mold thing back in the day, right? Remember that?
Yes.
That's a great example of it, I think,
Why
because it just
does
became so
pomegranate
popular,
not work?
right? What
Why
did you
does
say?
pomegranate not work? That was one of his ads. You didn't see my story? Do you even watch my
What?
Instagram?
Oh, bro, are you fucking serious? I'm literally probably the only one commenting on your shit in your DMs. JK, JK. Of course I have. Dude, you know how many Dave Aspley things I get sent a day? Like a lot. Like they'll pull because he does so many dumb clips, and it's just like there's one of him and doing an ad for like a teeth
Oh yeah,
whitening
I get
thing,
that
and
all
he's
the
just
time.
like, look, he just looks terrible in it. And it's just, oh my god, man.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, but his thing, that mold coffee thing, is like what you're saying is a great example of that, because it was such a big thing that is true, but didn't turn out to be what everybody
Yeah.
thought it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Which itself, that concept has a lot of implications, but just, almost kind of like religious type implications, but like materialist religious. But sticking to the deuterium. So my experience with deuterium has been the job that I just stopped with the biochemistry postdoc fellowship thing. One of the tools for probing the mechanism of an enzyme can be deuterium. You can just use deuterated water. So it's just you can buy water where all the hydrogens are deuterium. So
that means it's heavy water. That's what they would call
yes.
heavy water. Yes. Okay.
And and then you can also get a lot of other molecules that are deuterated. So I was studying things that oxidized amino acids. So for example, the hydrogen, so the alpha carbon, the one that is connected to the R group, which makes each amino acid unique, and then to the carboxyl and the amino parts that is not unique, that they all have, right? That one also is bound to a hydrogen. And usually if there's some type of oxidizing of that amino acid, it'll attack that carbon. So that's like a susceptible carbon to nucleophilic attack. And so let's say kicking off that hydrogen is part of that reaction. If you want to find out if it is part of the reaction or if it's the rate limiting step of the reaction, as in the slowest step of the reaction, because all reactions, in a sense, they have like infinite steps, because like, and anytime something like moves or vibrates, but there, you can kind of be like, okay, there's this sort of discrete step where like this moves over here, because the most simplified version is like in a chemistry class where it's like these two products and then those two arrows and then the two or the two reactants and then the two products, right?
Yeah, but it's not like that, right?
Yeah, and then there's like you could have something in the middle where, especially with
Yeah.
enzymes, it'll be like enzyme substrate complex. So it'll be like enzyme substrate.
It's sort of like that story that you post of your coworker that just talks to you. That shit killed me.
Yeah.
Can you please tell us about this gentleman?
Oh, he's just he's like just a good chemist, a little too good.
Man. just this never-ending fucking stream of stuff happening.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable. But yeah, because he's one of those guys that really likes to draw, like if anybody's taken organic chemistry, reaction mechanisms and resonance structures, and is this an SN1 or SN2 mechanism, and things like that.
Oh, Jesus
but so
Christ.
you can figure things like that out experimentally with deuterium. So for example, I was just using, right before I left, I was just using, I think, methionine and phenylalanine that were deuterated at the alpha carbon hydrogen. So the alpha carbon hydrogen was deuterium. So the idea is, okay, these things oxidize these amino acids, and then you have a way to measure that. We have a reporter assay, which basically takes the hydrogen peroxide, which is produced as an end product of the oxidation of the amino acid, reacts with that and changes color. So like the cuvette.
So that's how you know. You don't need any other special machinery. You just, if it changes color, you know.
Oh, well, that would be qualitative. But to measure the speed of it, you would have a spectrophotometer that's like scanning it like every second or every like few milliseconds or whatever. And so it'll tell you with pretty good precision how red it's turning, how fast, And so the different amino acids, because, they have these different R groups that make them shaped differently or have different electrical properties, they are better or less good substrates for this enzyme. So they will get oxidized faster or slower. Some of them you can just have a pretty low concentration and it'll just, use them right up. Some of them you have to like blast it with super high concentrations to get it to work because it just doesn't like that substrate very much. So if you take the same amino acid as its just natural form, where all the hydrogens are just hydrogen, and then one where the one hydrogen that you suspect is part of perhaps a rate-limiting step in the reaction is deuterium, the deuterium should slow it down. And it should slow it down significantly. And there's a few ways that can happen. Let me make sure I don't forget anything here. So, so this is where it meets. Okay, so I don't know. So do you remember like the claims for what people say deuterium or deuterium-depleted water do, or the benefits?
Well, I mean, honestly, there's nothing specific. It's like one of those insomnia things. It's just like good for everything. Live longer. No, seriously. Yeah. It's like good
so
for
it basically
everything.
makes reactions happen faster.
Oh, you're saying that those are the claims that people that advertise that
No,
say?
that's the real.
Oh, okay,
that's like the thing it's used for. And there's a couple ways that deuterium slows things down. I think I have this in order of like.
I have a question when you're ready. Just like a side question about deuterium.
Well, you should go ahead and ask it.
We'll come back to it. I don't want to interrupt your flow. No, but how did the whole deuterium thing started? Is it true that it started having to do with the bomb? With the because they needed wait, did they need deuterium? No, yeah, they needed deuterium
I think they
specifically.
needed tritium, actually. Or maybe they need both.
Or both, yeah. I know that they needed deuterium, but tritium is the radioactive one, right? Okay, so it's probably both then, right?
Maybe it is deuterium.
Point
I don't know. But yeah, you're right. They definitely need some form of isotopic hydrogen. Yes.
Deuterium for sure it was needed, because that's what I'm saying. So it's kind of, is that where the whole thing got its start?
I don't know.
And then what they would do with the water is just fucking toss it like this, like light water. And then I think, as far as I know, my people.
Yeah.
You can't say their origin right now. It's not a good time. Just kind of started, experimenting with that shit. With deuterium-depleted water.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the light water, it should be labeled with the letter Z, if you will.
So
sensitive. What I was reading about the history was that actually the atomic weapons production came after the initial discoveries, and that light water was being studied before World War II. And I think, let's see here. Actually, the guy who invented, Lewis acids and bases, Ray talks about it sometimes. There's like different theories for the acid and base chemical phenomenon, like the Bronsted-Lowry, Lewis.
I don't know the details, but okay, I've heard of it.
So
okay.
Gilbert Lewis was the first to create pure heavy water via electrolysis in 1933.
And what did he do with it?
He observed when, and this is, by the way, after a guy named Urey proved its existence. So somebody named Urey, Urey.
Urey. Uri.
Uri.
Is it Scandinavian fuck or what?
No.
Finnish? Something like this?
Colombia. But
Colombia?
I'm scrolling up this little article here. It doesn't give his background for some reason. Harold Udi and his colleagues Ferdinand Brickwed
you keep keeping your thing.
and George Murphy at Columbia University proved the existence of deuterium. Because basically they were like, this is in the era when measurements of mass became very precise. And so they were like, okay, we know that hydrogen. Yeah, but of what? By way of
origin. Yes.
Because actually a lot of this stuff it did happen in Russia a lot, and also I believe Hungary. I think actually even Saint Georgi was involved in some of this work, and colleagues of his. So this is kind of an Eastern European topic, which is kind of why it has that weird marketing style to it, where it's like,
what do you mean?
Oh, live long, comrade.
Live forever, comrade.
And it's like a big
Drink
metal
deuterium.
Factory, like a brutal factory-looking thing. Like, we make health for you.
Bro.
Sorry.
So, all you need in life is deuterium-depleted water and black bread, and you will live forever. Yes.
Yeah. So they were measuring, they were doing the really precise measurements of atoms, and they were like, hey, what's up with this water? Because we're getting these very small differences. Whereas, we know that hydrogen should be 1 and oxygen should be 16 or whatever. And we're getting some that seem like one number higher than it should. And so they got it enough times, and they were able to figure out, that like 99.9 something % of all hydrogen is normal hydrogen, and then like this tiny percentage is deuterium, and then even smaller percentage is tritium.
So, but I guess the big first major use of that is the atomic bomb, eh?
Well, the deuterium. But so the Udi guy, he was with Lewis. They made heavy water. It would sink instead of float like normal ice. It delayed the reproduction of microbes and retarded the growth of seeds. The splitting process of sugar with yeast is 9 times slower. This is Osborne Zoological Lab at Yale, Oscar Richards. So this is all in the 30s, 20s, maybe in 30s, and then World War II, they started, taking all of the heavy water for that. So then it went on from there, and somebody asked, doesn't deuterium supposedly knock ATP synthase out of balance? Yeah, so that's one of the things I was going to talk about, but okay. Deuterium.
One thing at a time.
So it's heavy.
We're getting familiar with it.
And so
twice as heavy.
That's right. Atoms are matter is always vibrating, and this is where we get into quantum theory. Okay, so what's her name? Mei-Wan Ho has entered the chat.
If you want to, I was gonna do what's his name? What's the Indian fucker? You know what I'm talking about.
Do you mean an Indian person or somebody who sleeps with Indians?
Well, probably he sleeps with Indians because he's in. Come on, not the Speedos guy, but the other guy that talks about quantum mechanics all the time, And then the people are like,
Deepak Chopra.
Yeah, Deepak Chopra. Yes.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
has entered chat. Sorry, that took too long for the joke.
So, all right. So molecules, atoms are always vibrating. And if you think about a reaction, there's a few ways to think about this. One is a concept that anybody who's took like any kind of, chemistry or even biology, activation energy. Okay. Or like Ray will even talk about this, different states of usually like, well, he'll say, because I remember years ago he would say, if you have sunburn, if you hit it with red light right away, it can stop the harm from being permanent, because the first damage, it's kind of like the I forget which molecules he was talking about, but just things that get damaged from the sunlight
No clue.
are kind of bouncing around in this excited state. And if you hit them with the red light, they'll sort of stabilize in a different way than if you just let them go. And then I don't know if he really means the electron shells. That would be the kind of more chemistry way of talking about it, is that there's these, the electrons are in a certain shell configuration and they have different potentials. So anyway, to get an atom or a molecule made of multiple atoms to have a reaction, you kind of have to knock it from its little sort of zone where it has a potential. It's bouncing around, and you have to kind of like lift it up and move it over and then like place it back down somewhere else where it can bounce around. Okay. And imagine if there's an atom that's bouncing around a lot. It's like not that hard to knock it a little bit out of its locked area where it has a little bit of movement latitude, and then to, have the reaction and move it into another locked area with latitude. Imagine that same atom, except it's like vibrating much less. It has less freedom of movement. So you have to like move it more. Nah. So so that is the concept of activation energy increase from deuterium, because it's heavier. So it has the same electrical properties as the normal atom, but it's heavier. So it's almost like if you had a magnet and you went to pick up a piece of metal, and then you picked up a piece of metal with it that was twice as heavy, the magnet would be only be able to pick it up half as fast or whatever. So that is the sort of basic idea theoretically of how deuterium slows everything down. It's just like carrying around. It's like you have a weight vest on. Okay.
It's just a heavier. Yeah. It's like a backpack with some weights in there.
And the extreme version, like some of the reactions that I study, so a deuterium might slow something down if it's involving a hydrogen like 6 to 10 times. So that's quite a bit slower, like 6 times slower. If it's really just a tiny little thing, it could just be almost negligible. But if it's a significant thing that you have to like move hydrogens around. Now, if you have to move them long distances, it can get even worse, like a hydride transfer where you get a hydrogen and 2 electrons, so a negatively charged hydrogen, and say that has to move like 3 angstroms. That's like,
way slower than it would have been if it was shorter amount. Okay.
Yeah. So it gets exponentially worse and worse. Same thing with proton transfers, although they aren't as common, or the rate of them being important isn't as common, I should say, because usually with a proton transfer, it's just like you lose an electron, and the hydrogen that electron had just gets kicked out, but that doesn't matter for the reaction rate, really. Anyway. Also, heavy water has higher viscosity, but it's something you wouldn't be able to notice, but like on the level of the chemicals, because just imagine like each little water molecule with its hydrogen bonds that it's flowing over itself is just a little bit slower because they're just like twice as heavy, right? So those are so leveraging those physical realities, you can sort of probe into a reaction mechanism. Like if you say, hey, well, we think that the slowest part of this reaction, or an important part of this reaction, is this hydrogen gets like taken from this amino acid and given to this one or something. Well, if you can deuterate that hydrogen and show that the reaction slows down like a whole lot, then you're like, that's a pretty good piece of evidence.
And it has to do with the deuterium. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's what that deuterium do. And then there's more speculative things. So we're starting with kind of most mainstream or whatever evidence behind it, totally accepted by everybody. Like nobody thinks that that's wacky in science.
Okay, that's good. Let's do that. So
somebody said it'd be like water, my friend. Deuterium-depleted water.
Be like deuterium-depleted water.
Deuterium can flow slow, or it can crash.
Hey, that's good. Fuck, dude, you got a good. I didn't know you have this talent for this one. This is good. It's a fucking good impression. Yeah, it's not bad. Seriously, I like it.
My Bruce Lee.
Yeah, it's fucking good, man.
Yeah. Okay, so somebody mentioned in the comments the ATP thing, and this is interesting too, because so if we take on the one hand people that are selling deuterium depleted water, deuterium depletion devices as these health tonics with extreme longevity benefits, if you take that and say that's like the fringe, that's like the popular, whatever you want to call it. And then all the way on the other side is what I was just talking about, which is just scientists making heavy water, making light water. You know, you make the one, you make the other, kind of
doing stuff with it.
And doing stuff with it that is eminently measurable and replicable, and is not like sort of in the realm of speculation anymore. And then you get into this middle zone, which is the more so basically you could say deuterium slows down reactions, and that could explain. So like they would say, oh, you know, we had this experiment where if we gave, and the experiments where they say killed a plant, where it's like you have a seed and you water them with heavy water, and they either grow super slow or they just kind of can't grow it. Like they grow so slow that they die before they can, you know, kind of get off the ground there. And so you go, okay, well, there's probably some speed at which each organism has to be able to do certain of its reactions to grow normally, right? And to have its normal development and life cycle. So that's already sort of like we could just explain that with the speed thing. But then there's other claims, and what's interesting about this one, it's about the ATP synthase. And anybody that is familiar with Ray and some of the like Gerald Pollack, Gilbert Ling, those kinds of people, they don't really believe in the machinery of ATP production that you would see cartoon drawings of in textbooks. You know, like a turbine type thing where
Sure. Of course.
You know, protons are taken off of the NADH and the FADH that gets made in the citric acid cycle, and it pushes protons, actually, hydrogen.
CIA drew that. Right. You don't know what you're talking about.
Against the mitochondrial matrix, and then there's these proteins studded in the matrix, ATPase or ATP synthase, that let them back in. So they want to get back in because diffusion, you know, there's a bunch of them, so they want to get away from each other. So they're flowing back in. They're flowing through this turbine, essentially, which spins. Literally, they kind of have this model that for it spinning like an actual turbine. And that energy is captured by attaching a phosphate to an ADP to make ATP. So using that model, the deuterium people say that if a certain number of those hydrogen ions that power that ATP synthase are deuterium, it will get clogged up. They'll go too slow. Their properties won't be quite right. They'll sort of, you know, not flow the right way, get stuck in places, and even break the machinery, potentially.
Okay.
So that would be quite bad, right?
So that's what they're saying that
That's like
that's
one of the
their claim.
toxic.
But hold on, what are we going to do this from claims that are like everybody agrees on? This is already a claim that is getting into the wacky zone, or
Well,
what?
what's weird about it is because it uses the mainstream model of the ATP synthase of ATP production, it's pretty accepted, at least okay, so what's really accepted is that if you have above the average, like, 160 or whatever, 150 parts per million deuterium, that ATP synthase is going to be slower. So that's pretty non-controversial because everything's slower,
Okay.
But they're saying it's kind of specifically toxic to the mitochondrial, cytochrome C ATP synthase complex because it's just not able to take those heavy protons very well, and it like breaks it. It like literally breaks them. It's like putting the wrong, putting diesel in your gasoline tank or something.
Okay.
Like you could put, if you had like one molecule of diesel, who cares, right? And if you had like 10 parts per million diesel in normal gasoline, who cares? But there's a certain point, right, where it's like,
okay. So they're saying less of that diesel, less of the deuterium will work better with mitochondria.
yeah, and that too much will break it down. Okay.
Okay.
And so one of the points I wanted to make, maybe I'm not making this clearly, is that a lot of these alternative ideas, they oppose each other. Like,
yeah, I see that.
So the deuterium people are totally in the mainstream on the nature of like ATP production in the mitochondria. And
but then
you see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like,
yeah. But then the nature of saying that having more, it's like opposing ideas. I get it, right? It's like they're using the science that, what the fuck did I just talked about that. Anyway, go ahead.
And there's a couple other examples of this too. I'll come back to the ATP stuff, but there was one paper that I was reading where a study was done. It was a combination of epidemiology and animal work. So they looked at places in America that would have more or less deuterium-depleted water based on where the water comes from, like glacial melt and altitude and stuff like that. So, of course, because it's heavy, right, any place where there's like a high altitude and like a really high glacial melt, it'll have less deuterium because the water, just because of gravity, will be lower the higher you are from the higher your altitude you are. And it'll become like a gradation thing. So at sea level, I think the international standard, it's like called the Vienna standard, something. It's like 162 or like something like that. In the middle 100s parts per million. And then so I guess if there was some place like in the middle of the like Earth or something, maybe it's higher, like closer to the crust. And then as you get higher and higher up in the atmosphere, just gravity will start to filter out things that are heavier. Kind of like there's that theory that you can have a boy pregnancy more likely if the woman is on top. Have you heard that one? Is the Y chromosome?
Classic. I fucking love science.
So another example of this like interesting cross fringe science or non-mainstream is, so they had I was reading another study about serotonin-like effects. So basically they were like, oh, look, deuterium-depleted water has similar effects on neurons or the brain as like a SSRI. And they're like, isn't that great?
Another case of one of those opposing kind of views.
And DNA copying.
Right?
So another specific thing that it's supposed to be bad for is that it induces errors in DNA copying. So either DNA repair, like from sunburn or from radiation, or just when cells divide, and they have to copy their DNA. There's a certain error rate for every species and probably conditions, like if you're all getting hit with more radiation or who knows what, anything, it could make that rate worse or less bad. And so supposedly having deuterium in the now I think of it, I don't remember if they were saying if it's part of the polymerase enzyme where it messes it up the most, or part of the nucleotides, whatever. So integrated somewhere in those molecules, it induces quite a bit more mistakes. And so that's another thing where it's like, oh, see, it's the cause of aging. See, these people are, because everybody wants their thing to be like the cause.
The thing. Are we still doing the claims? Because I'm just curious. Did you find any actual studies?
Yeah.
Done on
I'll go
actual
through those
people?
in a second. But Matt actually brought up the last one.
Okay.
The main proponents of deuterium depletion promote a ketogenic diet because carbohydrates contain more deuterium than fats. Yes, that was one of the last things I wanted to say.
Right.
There's at the end of this one thing, it's kind of written by, I think, one of the people that sells light water. The ideal deuterium level for the body is below 120 parts per million. So like 30% or something less than.
Wait. Say that again.
The ideal deuterium level for the body is below 120.
Oh, okay. For the body.
Achieving this requires drinking 1.5 liters of 80 to 100 parts per million deuterium depleted water daily for 45 to 60 days, while minimizing the intake of all other beverages and maintaining a modified ketogenic diet with intermittent fasting.
Right. Yay, my favorite.
And targeted photonic stimulation.
Yeah. Oh, man. Wait, how much water you have to drink, he says, a day? How much of that shit you have to drink?
1.5 liters of the deuterium depleted.
Okay, not crazy amount, but just enough.
So like
to keep
$50
like
to $60 worth of water a day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just a good steady, just enough.
Just
so
basic.
You don't feel like you're getting completely robbed. Just a basic, but like $60 a day, right? Because it's Matt said what, $20 a liter? Oh, okay,
$20 a half
less
liter.
Than that. Oh, now it's a half liter. I thought you said fucking liter,
dude.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. So it was about the same price as I'm paying, right? Whenever I paid mine.
Yeah.
So a half liter, and he's saying 1.5 liters.
Yeah, so like $60 basically.
Just the basics.
Basic. Somebody asked, does deuterium accumulate in bones? I didn't see anything about that, but I did see something very interesting about this whole mitochondrial ATP production thing, which is somebody had a theory. It was that this is also a person that said nutritional ketosis and health benefits by deuterium depletion are good. So anyway, these people are so up on the deuterium thing that they're like, they're comparing it favorably to serotonin and SSRI action. They're obviously against the carbohydrates. And, okay, fair enough. For whatever reason, the biochemistry of producing carbohydrates attaches more heavy hydrogen, more deuteriums than the production of fatty acids. Okay. I'd actually be interested to look at the biophysics of why that is. It probably has to do with like the enzymes and how much like weight affects the, the different synthesis.
Well, okay. Synthase? No, not synthase.
Synthesizers.
Synthesizers. God damn, that's a fucking mouthful. Synthesizers.
Basic.
That's a basic. That's a basic.
I have some papers here if people want to read the the ATP synthase stuff is by an author, Abdullah Olgun. Son of Deuteronation. Published relatively modern, 2007. It is from the Journal of Biomed Central Theoretical Biology and Medical Modeling, 2007. Volume 4, issue 9. You can attach it
to the video.
Yeah, I will.
Post it.
It's called Biological Effects of Deuteronation. ATP synthase.
Yeah, just attach it.
So there's that one, which had the. It's a very short paper actually, and it has. It's basically a theory paper about this, and it calls on other research papers that looked at the effects of deuterium, but it's like it's not it doesn't call itself a review. I guess it's sort of like a review, but it's whatever.
Okay.
And then the serotonin one is deuterium content of water increases depression susceptibility, the potential role of a serotonin-related mechanism. That was from 2015.
It's pretty recent.
In behavioral brain research. And by the way, the methods of that, it was, like I said, they found zones of America that were likely to have deuterium-depleted water relative to, like sea level zones. And they...
It's like what, like Colorado or some shit like that?
Yeah,
like where? Colorado?
Yeah,
okay.
Probably some places in the north that maybe get water from like Canadian glacial stuff, whatever. And yeah, just comparing it to places that you'd expect to have like the highest, like sea level type places. And they were able to show a reasonable, not very strong, but like something that seems reasonably convincing that it's not just random correlation to depression increases in the higher versus the lower zones that should be. Also, a lot, those blue zones, or they used to call them... They used to call them something else, like the Hunza Valley and the...
Yeah. Out here in Loma Linda. Yeah.
There's a Siberian one. That was actually, I think that was where the health effects were discovered, in Siberia. Because there was a blue zone.
The blue zone
There was a blue zone there. Actually, I'm not sure. I don't even remember the technical definition of a blue zone. There was a place that had a much higher percentage of octogenarians and stuff like that than everywhere else in Siberia and perhaps even Russia. And they found...
You're talking about like places like Okinawa. That's another one.
So this place and the Pakistan, because the Hunza Valley, the Pakistan, that's high altitude as well. And so some of these places, obviously not every blue zone, because people are saying like Okinawa. I don't think that's particularly high altitude. I'm not sure.
No.
But so some of these places overlap with places that you would expect to have deuterium depleted water, and that Siberian place had particularly depleted water. It was like ancient ice from ice age ice made in altitude, and it had like the lowest naturally occurring amount of deuterium in water. So you'd have to like have a machine to get it less.
Right. So that all stuff jives very well with Ray's idea, right, of living in altitude and all that stuff.
Yeah, which is, it's funny because
the serotonin bit doesn't.
Yeah. The other thing is there's a paper relationship between natural concentration of heavy water, isotopologs, and rate of hydrogen peroxide generation by mitochondria, and this is by looks like a couple of Gruskis.
Opa, let's hear this. Tell me the name.
Pomitkin and Kolesova.
Kolesova. Koleso means tire, like a koleso, like a circle or round, tire. Kolesova. So not all names are like that in Russia.
They were measuring a very simple. These papers are very short and to the point, which is nice. And they just were like, look, these mitochondria make way less hydrogen peroxide if they have a lot of deuterium, which is interesting because generally speaking, hydrogen peroxide would be considered like a bad thing.
Okay, but they're saying that. But wait, what is this paper saying?
They're saying that the mitochondria make less hydrogen peroxide with deuterium. In other words, they make more with the light water. But they're calling, so it's true that hydrogen peroxide is important in the mitochondria. Like it makes hydrogen peroxide inside of it as part of like a signaling. And there's some pretty tricky stuff out there. I actually started writing a paper about this that I don't know if I'll ever finish, but the omega-3 research has this really weird ontological thing where it's like, hey, look, omega-3s are actually antioxidant because they cause the cell and the mitochondria and the cytoplasm to produce stuff like superoxide dismutase
Well,
to fight the oxidation that they're like stimulating with their.
it's like they're fitting. They're making it fit their little
Yeah, it's
story
like,
there,
hey,
huh?
look, actually, fire is anti-fire because it brings firemen, and they oppose all. Like, try to
That's
get a fire
good.
started in your house when there's a fire hose trained on it. Like, just
Yes. More firemen is good. Firemen are hot.
right, right.
I like them.
um,
Bring them around. Yeah,
so
yeah,
there's
yeah. Okay,
it
okay.
gets, and this is kind of beyond. This is like super technical stuff. Exactly when, where, how much hydrogen peroxide, and even other radicals being produced in the mitochondria is good and normal, versus
Hmm.
like even Chris Masterjohn talked about this years ago. He was like, just
My
saying antioxidant isn't always good. Like things do need to
uh-huh.
oxidize. Like obviously, like, enzymatically in the mitochondria, but it's generally speaking, outside of that is not good.
So this paper just talked about hydrogen peroxide. That's it,
Yeah,
pretty much. That was the
yeah.
big
It was
claim.
probably a lab that didn't have.
But how is that important to the mitochondria? How is that?
It's just another piece of evidence that it slows down the mitochondrial metabolism.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
So it has like a normal amount of hydrogen peroxide it produces, and now in this
Uh-huh.
condition it produces less. So it's
So when you have less deuterium, it
it's
produces less, or the opposite way.
if you have more
When you have
deuterium, it
more
produces
deuterium, it
less.
produces
Yeah.
less. Okay. Which is supposedly a good thing, but we don't fucking know, do we?
Yeah, it's kind of a
Hmm.
funny one, and it's kind of like the serotonin stuff, in the
Yeah.
sense that, just strictly speaking, like when you're talking about mitochondria, it's different most of the time. Again, it's a really complicated about the whens and wheres of the hydrogen peroxide there. Like there are definitely times when, like when a mitochondria is just dying, you're going to have a bunch of leak
Hmm.
of hydrogen peroxide out, and you're going to have more production inside, and it's not going to be regulated, and that's not good. So it's kind of like
Hmm.
one of those things, like like an engine, like there's a certain amount of like combustion that's good, and if you put in some
Hmm.
different type of fuel and the combustion amount goes down, it's like, hey, look, that fuel doesn't burn very well. But that doesn't
Hmm.
mean infinite combustion, like the whole engine just, the whole gas tank
Blows up.
explodes in one ball of
It's a good thing,
fire.
right? Right, right, right.
There's only so much, the pistons can take, for example, even just. So anyway,
Hmm.
not to be too mechanistic about our biology, but
Not to be too Michael
I gotta
Schumacher
say,
about
man, the
this, huh?
car, the automobile, for
Hmm.
me, I really like to use it as an analogy
No shit,
because it's
man.
got,
I'm gonna call you fucking Kyle Schumacher over here. This fucking guy.
um,
Yeah,
yes. So,
it's good
uh,
actually. Schumacher.
so that's
Uh-huh.
that's kind of the range there. Is you've got these people, these scientists, it's stuff that doesn't really get a lot of play. I guess because at the end of the day, there's really not too much you can do about it on a population-wide level or even a therapeutic level, because there's just, as a result, I guess, of, say, Big Bang physics, like creation of the
Hmm.
universe level tier processes, we have a certain amount of hydrogens that have a neutron in there. And
Hmm.
like,
It is
yeah,
what it
that's what
is.
we have. And it takes a lot of energy, whether it's through electrolysis, because if you think electrolysis, okay, it's pulling hydrogens and oxygens with electricity, and then of course if something's heavy it'll get pulled slower. So that's one way that you can try to separate out the light and the
Hmm.
heavy. And then ice, I actually used to get this, used to piss me off, because I would use, there's two ways to kind of study, like I was saying before, right at the beginning, there's two ways to use deuterium. One is your actual reaction substrate is deuterated, so everything else is
Okay.
normal. So you've got like a buffer for your reaction, you've got your other reagents, and you've got this one reagent that has a specific targeted point deuterated that either will or will not significantly slow down the reaction. The other way to do
Hmm.
it is to do general deuterium effects. So you would have water that's all deuterium, so heavy water, and then you make
Hmm.
your buffer. Every reagent that you're going to mix in there, you dissolve in the heavy water. So everything is deuterium, and all of the hydrogens that are solvent accessible. So in a protein, big protein, there's some interior amino acids, and then there's ones that are facing the outside. And the ones that are facing the outside, the hydrogens in the amino group and some of the R groups, if they're sticking outside, they're solvent exchangeable. So if you let them soak overnight in fully deuterated water, they'll all basically be deuteriums. So now it's like you have the deuterated protein generally, but not specifically. So the kind of the experiment you would do, right, is you have everything normal, but the targeted deuteration, and then regular substrate, but everything's in deuterated water. So that would be like general deuterium effects versus the specific, and then both. So then you would say like, okay, what was the speed of the reaction? Were the effects all the same? In which case it's like, okay, so it's just the deuterated water that's having the effect. So, because sometimes reactions will use a structural water. So there's like a water molecule in the protein, almost like an amino acid, like part of the protein. And it becomes, if it's in the active site, it'll like be a substrate, like it gives an oxygen or a hydrogen or a hydride or whatever. Anyway, so when I would mix stuff up with deuterated water, it freezes really easily because it has less of that molecular vibration. So it's freezing, because what freezing is things kind of getting stuck in a more fixed position. So the more they're vibrating, the less.
And light water will take longer to freeze.
Yeah, so like normally you get a bucket of ice, right? And you put your tubes in there of your stuff. And a bucket of ice, the ice is frozen, but anything stuck in a bucket of ice will probably be about 4 degrees Celsius because it doesn't get as cold as the ice. It's just close to as cold as the ice. So most stuff, because we have buffers that have salts in it and stuff, and salts increase or decrease the melting temperature, or decrease the freezing. They make it so that it stays liquid at a lower temperature. Whereas deuterium does the opposite.
Okay.
So, because when you salt the roads for snow, it makes them melt. So you freeze less well with salts in your water than just regular water. Generally speaking, there's probably some salts that don't work that way, but like sodium and potassium, most regular metal salts work that way. Whereas the deuterium, like I would mix something up, and then I would stick the tube in the bucket, and it would just freeze, and then
immediately,
like quite fast. And
really
then
fast.
I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pipette things out, and it's just like clank. And then, it would be actually kind of hard to melt. You'd have to like hold it in your hand for a while. So if you have, these effects, but that's 100% heavy water. So the question is, I guess the overall, like, take home, I don't know, perspective or question, because a lot of these studies, like with whether it's animal studies or the stuff that messed up the ability of a seed to germinate or microbes to replicate, they're getting 30% heavy water. So as opposed to like 0.000 something percent. This is like insane levels of deuterium in the water in a lot of these experiments. There's some of them they'll have, a few percent or something, but it's always, because they want to see what happens if you really push the envelope on this stuff. And so, yeah, it's definitely true that deuterium slows down reactions. And yeah, if some like really crazy scientist kidnapped you and exchanged your body water with heavy water, you'd probably die.
Well, no, there's like a limit that you can drink, you'll fucking die. No?
Well, you won't die right away. You'll just, I guess,
you have to do it every day. You poison yourself or something fucked up would happen. Let's say that, huh?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you'd start to get all kinds of problems because all of your enzymes and stuff would start to slow down by like 10x, So like your liver metabolizing toxins and your cells
Mm-hmm.
dividing and copying DNA and errors and stuff. Yeah, it would like age you super fast and mess you up.
Mm-hmm.
And there'd probably be something, whether it's the heart or the lungs or the liver, whatever, some organ system that's like most affected that'll like give out first.
Mm-hmm.
And
Interesting.
but again, as I said, that's something you would get with like an extreme amount. So, however, there's definitely nothing dangerous about mildly depleted deuterium depleted water. You know what I mean? Like if you wanted to, how some things that like health things, it's like, is it healthy or is it actually dangerous? There's that question. So in this case, I don't think it's dangerous. The one thing though,
you don't think it's dangerous what to drink deuterium depleted water?
yeah. One thing though is that all of this relies on the idea that we're kind of evolved to use not any deuterium in our cells. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes. That's what I was gonna bring up too. Yeah, because it's like, okay, it's just like always, right? It's like estrogen's bad. Delete the estrogen. Control space delete, right? Fucking same thing with deuterium, right? Because it's like maybe there's a certain amount, eh?
Well, yeah, and because so it's always been here. It's always been with us. So I would think that there may even be a toxic level of light water in the sense like
if you're only drinking for 30 years straight, fucking just like no deuterium,
Yeah.
you're like drinking five parts per million deuterium depleted water, and you're just like, yeah, nobody's done that yet, right? That's the question.
Right. Yeah, I don't know how possible that is, but I guess because reactions going faster, that's not always a good thing.
Right.
And that also could be related to aging in the sense like there's a zone.
Well, is it sort of like with steroids, eh? A lot of things, they speed a lot of things up too.
Right. Yeah.
And then you get, fucking elbows that are grown out to here and all kinds of stuff, which is true. So, same thing could happen with deuterium.
Well, yeah, just the idea that, like the life on Earth or whatever, it evolved along a certain level of cosmic deuterium. So
Yeah.
it would I don't know. It reminds me of this thing. One of my professors in graduate school studied B vitamins, and somebody was asking him about, because there was an article about one of the B vitamins and cancer, or maybe multiple of them, because you know how they fortify the breads and stuff. And there was a little kerfuffle about that because there's some studies that show that the B vitamin fortification, some people said, causes cancer, or that you'll have more detectable cancer from that. And I think what it was sort of determined was because, cancer cells, they need B vitamins too. So if you have cancer cells, they, a tumor, certain types of tumors will just grow faster, if that's their limiting thing. So, your regular cells will have more B vitamins and your cancer cells will have more B vitamins. So you could imagine there might be somebody who's like, say 50, and they have a very small amount of cancer cells, undetectable, but they're there. And there's a certain type of lifestyle factors for which they will make it to 85 and then get hit by a bus and never have cancer, right? Like it'll never reach a point where they notice anything or have any kind of test that would show anything. And then there's another possibility that same person with the same starting amount of cancerous cells could have a tumor when they're 67. And now, now they're a cancer patient. And they have to wait, 18 years or whatever to get hit by the bus. Are they going to make it? Are they going to make that bus appointment? And one of those things is B vitamins. One of those things is, sugar. Sugar feeds cancer cells, right?
I was just going to say sugar, right? The whole sugar thing, like sugar feeds it and blah, blah, blah.
Right. So everything just about everything that cells need.
Have they done that though? Have they done? There's no even short-term studies, right, on people that just use deuterium-depleted water only, right? There's only nothing of such sort, as far as I know, right?
I didn't find anything.
I haven't either. I mean, I didn't look
Just
that hard, but
just the epidemiology. Oh, you know what? There was oh fuck, this is mice. Okay, it wasn't a study. There was a mouse study where they irradiated mice, to basically give them cancer with radiation, and like say 60% or some decent percent got cancer in the control group, and then the group that was being given light water for 2 weeks or a month or something beforehand got like half the amount of cancer, something like that. And the reason why I thought that might have been a human study is because in one of the histories I was reading, they did that clinically. There was one of those, the Russians with the meltdowns, and
yes,
is normal.
It's normal. It happens.
And so there was just a radiation leakage somewhere, and it was kept on the down low as things were back, like this is like 50s, 60s or something.
Russians.
And these people were doing the work with the glacier water, and they rushed and brought these people the water with the idea that, getting this deuterium depleted water into them would help mitigate the effects of that radiation that they were just exposed to. And I think that they were able to show something that suggested that, because there is kind of considered a normal response to that radiation, and that it was much less.
So there is some clinical evidence. It's not just bullshit. There are some studies that have been.
Well, yeah, you can't really call that clinical. You can call it like a case study.
Case studies. So hold on, glacier thing. So is it fair to say that glacier? No, seriously, glacier water. Like if you buy store-bought glacier water, probably has less deuterium.
Yeah, unless there's.
There's that one Icelandic, I think, glacier water. It's called. Like kind of a squarish bottle. Do you see that one?
Yeah. Unless I'm not like a glacier expert, but
water sommelier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless there's a lot of glaciers that are formed near sea level and maybe formed in a way that wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if they all share that, or if there's a certain.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay. But generally, it sounds like that would be the case, right? Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think so. Another thing you can do, this could probably only lower it maybe 10%. But like I was saying with the freezing thing, if you took water, like say you have your own kind of filter system or whatever you have for your drinking water, and get a nice big, it would be better instead of a bottle, like something long, like a bath thing,
like a tray,
like
or
some
something
kind of tray,
like
like
that.
something
I
with
see
a
what you're
big
saying.
volume of water that's kind of spread out. Put it in and if you have a big freezer you can use, and stick that in there and check on it every once in a while, and just remove the stuff that freezes first. And then dump that, and then kind of take it out and let it, and do that like over and over again. So if you do that like 5 times, you'll probably have taken out maybe like, reduced the deuterium content by like 10% or something, 5 or 10%. Yeah, it's
10's
but
a lot.
that's
10 sounds
that is
if it's
a lot.
50, you know what I'm saying? Like, but even if still, it's that's it. Have you done that before? Have you ever tried that? That's interesting.
But
that is interesting.
You'd also have to make sure, because I guess the surface might start freezing early, and you'd have to check on the physics of that to make sure that you're actually removing stuff that is more likely to be deuterium. But yeah.
Interesting.
I think that's how a lot of the original machines worked. They were just very sensitive.
I remember listening to one guy talk about it, and he said that there is just no way to do it at all with, at home. No system. There's nothing, no way that you can improve or, take out some of the deuterium. But you're the first person. I never heard anybody mention that.
Yeah, you can also, I mean,
But
you
I don't
can
know.
do electrolysis
So
in your
well, yeah, he was saying you
bathtub.
need like machine. What do you mean?
Like if you just have two electrodes, a positive and a negative electrode, and you pull water, because that's how they make jet fuel basically. Is you pull the hydrogens out of the water, because at any given time, a glass of water or a container of water, they're not all just like happy Mickey Mouse oxygen and two hydrogens, right? There's this, that's the vast majority, and then there's a certain amount of like ionic hydrogens and oxygens floating around, and that that has to do with the pH, right? Like the amount of ions, the hydrogen basically, the free hydrogen. So at least when we're talking about water. Oh, you know what else is interesting? When I use deuterium, I wanted to look this up because Ray said, he had this thing he said, God, 15 years ago, where his graduate student advisor, I think he was in a classroom, and he challenged a professor about how pH probes work. And I forget the specifics, but it was something about how it's this surface level phenomenon with the probe, and that basically the way they say the probe works doesn't really make sense because you can use it in ways that it shouldn't work. And just
Don't remember that.
yeah, it was like one of his really, really old talks, like probably with like East-West healing or something. And
Old school.
when you make deuterium, when you use deuterated water, and say it's like, okay, I'm gonna make a buffer that's pH 7.5 or something, you have to make it 0.4 pH higher, because the way the pH probe works, its apparent pH is 0.4 lower than it really is if it's deuterium, because of the effect of the, that's one of the deuterium effects or whatever. So it actually changes the observable pH of a solution as well. I thought that was, I don't know, it's just something that I always had to remember.
How would you do it in a bathtub? You lost
me. So you get like a positive and a negative electrode in the water, and put, like if you have like a empty soda bottle, and then you put it upside down, and it'll stay just air, right? So you insert the you put the electrode, the positive and the negative ones, directly under that bottle that just has air in it, and it'll draw the ions. So the negative electrode will draw positive ions, so it'll draw protons or hydrogen ions, and the negative electrode the positive electrode will draw negative ions, which will be oxygen, as it pulls apart the water with the power of the electricity that you're putting through the water. And you'll see bubbles form, and the bubbles will form at the electrode, and then since it's a gas, it'll go up because it's in water, and it'll go into this bottle, and if you do it long enough, it'll displace the air. It'll start to fill out, and then as if it fills up with either hydrogen or oxygen, and push the air out. So one of the bottles will become, if you do it long enough, like pretty much pure hydrogen.
It would take for fucking ever, right?
But
that would take forever.
But that's only the beginning.
That's not a.
You have to
forget about it.
What you have to do is get a setup where you would draw the hydrogen ions by speed. So you would have to be like the ones that are the slowest get excluded.
You can't do it at home. He was right. You can't do it at home. You just can't.
Oh, somebody said, GP says to freeze a bottle of water, then get it out, and when about 1/2 of it has thawed, drink that and discard the frozen portion. When thawed, you can reuse the bottle. Yeah, that would work too. Because obviously the other way around, the light water would thaw first.
Oh, so just like drinking the light water. But how much? How much do you let it thaw out?
Well, this person
Tiny
said a
bit.
half. Again, this would be a gross. This would be one of those like
Yeah.
5%,
Yeah. 5%. Hey.
This is like if you want to get light, not heavy. You know, it'd be
Oh, want to
interesting
get bigger.
how much you could, if you could make somebody their body weight significantly lower by replacing like all, depleting their body of deuterium. It would
That's
probably only
interesting.
be a pound or two.
Tiny amount.
But
That'd be an interesting experiment. You have another question? You got a question?
yeah,
I was gonna say, answer the question. I gotta go pee, dude. I've been holding it for like an hour now. Answer the question. Give me. I'll be quick.
Okay. Man, this. Okay, so we have heavy subject, heavy water, pricey. We love liters and pints. Liter cola. Oz reminds me of baking cakes, huh? Why does the MD say peppercorns are bullshit? I think all those naturalistic type people think that spices are bullshit. That's like a thing. I remember back when I was raw vegan, they said spices, like especially pepper, use just an irritant, and that people just use it like a drug, because their digestive system's sluggish. And there might be some truth to that in the sense, but I think at this point we've kind of integrated it into the body culinary. Is deuterium in the water table an artifact of nuclear processing? I don't think so, although maybe in some places, if there's some kind of, I don't know what they do with the heavy water, especially tritium, as it decays to deuterium. I don't know what they do with it, so there might be some places of pollution.
What we got going on?
Deuterium-depleted vodka.
Hey! Is that a real thing, though?
No. Oh, somebody said that they tried everything for insomnia and finally solved it by reducing iron. Or perhaps he should say decreasing iron.
Decreasing, not reducing.
Yeah.
Very good science talk there. I fucking love science. Interesting. And what'd you do to do that?
Give blood while avoiding
Okay.
dietary sources. The basics.
The basics. You got to call this show the basics. Deuterium dash the basics.
Mike Frame also correctly said is the word quench as in red light quenches phosphorescence. Yes. So I think when Ray was talking about that thing that I was kind of stumbling along what he said about sunlight damage, sunburn, that it's a reaction that's kind of not fully done right away, and that you can quench the reaction by knocking electrons in a different configuration with red light, supposedly. So it's like, it's like, the
basics.
Yeah, just getting red light right on your skin after sunburn. Basics.
The basics.
Drink tap water, noodles, and be happy. Does deuterium accumulate in the bones? Oh, there is one more scientific point about deuterium. I don't know if it accumulates in the bones. I would guess that if it bioaccumulates anywhere, it would be in a tissue like bone, which has a slower turnover, compared to like liver or whatever.
Okay.
There were a couple studies. There was one on deuteronation of the body and aging, and it was with mice. And basically the guy was just like, yeah, we took like rat tails or mice tails or whatever at different ages, and they didn't have different amounts of deuterium. So it seemed like he was kind of disappointed, and he was like, well, maybe we should have done something else or whatever. Like maybe this wasn't the right way to ask the question. But it seems like maybe the amount of deuterium, because you know how Ray might say PUFA accumulates with age.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like maybe deuterium doesn't accumulate with age. It's just kind of your body has a certain amount, kind of like CO2, you know. And actually, and that's the other thing, it is kind of like CO2 because one of the people, these proponents of the deuterium-depleted water, one of the ones that recommends nutritional ketosis even, describes glycolysis and the citric acid cycle as means of creating a relatively deuterium-depleted environment in the mitochondria. And this was actually pretty compelling because they asked, I actually downloaded this PowerPoint. It was like some presentation they gave at a conference or something. And in 2016, I guess, is what the date says on the title. And they asked a rhetorical question, which was, I should have just remembered the question.
We can't hear you.
I said I should have just remembered the question, but
Oh.
the rhetorical, or they call these common questions, why does it take 10 enzymatic steps to cleave the 6-carbon glucose into 2 3-carbon products during glycolysis, so into 2 pyruvates? In other words, like, I mean, nobody ever really...
I like how you go.
Like, you're basically cutting one thing that's 6 into 2 3s. So, I mean, if you give me a chef's knife, I'll give you one step. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, furthermore, why does it take 9 enzymatic steps to cut 2 CO2 molecules off of the acetyl-CoA, the acetoaxylate in the TCA cycle? So basically, to put in acetyl onto condense it onto what's the last product?
No idea.
Whatever.
But whatever.
So it's like the 4-carbon goes around and gets the 2 carbons added, and those get cleaved off as CO2. It takes 9 steps. And so this person, and so the normal biochemist or whatever answer would be, well, that's just how it has to go. Like, this enzyme evolved to, you know, take this hydrogen away or something, or take these electrons, but it has to, the product has to be shaped a certain way. So there's a previous enzyme that takes like glucose and turns it into like fructose, and fructose 6-bisphosphate or phosphate, and fructose 1,6-bisphosphate, and et cetera, et cetera. But this person posited that actually what's happening in both glycolysis and then the citric acid cycle is hydrogens from the carbohydrate, from the glucose, are getting taken off, and in some cases replaced with, so they're extracellular hydrogens. They're hydrogens from outside, from on this glucose molecule, and they're getting replaced with hydrogens that came from like cellular water in the cell, because that makes up the bulk of the hydrogens in the cell, right? So it's like, in here we do things this way, and you get this stranger, and it's like,
I like how you explained that.
And then the same thing with the TCA cycle, and they called it a drying. So they taking off the hydrogens in the glycolysis, they call that like a drying of the molecule, and then a washing of the molecule in the citric acid cycle, where molecular waters, intracellular waters, intracellular waters are replacing hydrogens on that molecule. So what ends up happening is kind of like with CO2, because you've got ambient CO2, and then you've got the amount of CO2 in your blood and in different tissues, and then you've got your CO2 in the cell, and then you've got your CO2 in the mitochondria. And at every level, it's higher. So the body, because we produce CO2, so it's only natural, right? We create a microenvironment inside of ourselves that is a higher level than the ambient atmospheric CO2 amount. Okay, so the highest amount of CO2 in the natural world, outside of like artificial, a tank of CO2 or something for your paintball gun, is the inside of your mitochondria, because it's actively making CO2, and then that goes out into,
and it gets decreasingly smaller.
And then the outside is way more oxygen than inside of us. So it's like an opposite thing. It's the same thing actually with sodium and potassium. Like there's way more potassium inside the cell and sodium outside of the cell. And that's for a different reason. But so similar to deuterium. So they're positing that one of the perhaps evolutionary reasons why the processes of glycolysis and the citric acid cycle have so many darn steps. It's like, why can't you just, why couldn't there have just evolved an enzyme that could cleave it in half without having to rearrange it and switch this and flip this and then cut this little part and then they have to flip this around. It's like, this crazy like pizza pie operation. And the idea is that maybe that was to get these deuteriums to be at a way lower concentration once you get into the mitochondrial membrane matrix, if you will, into the matrix.
Okay.
Reloaded.
So
I thought that was an interesting theory, and it's a shame that like this particular presenter, whose name is Boros, Boros, had to kind of like do the whole like be in ketosis and intermittent fasting. And so I think that's
but there's no other way to go about it, right? So it's like for them it just goes hand in hand, eating a ketosis, whatever, low carb diet and deuterium depleted water. There's no
if you consider deuterium depletion to be the most important thing, and if it's true that fatty acids have on average less deuterium than carbohydrates, then
is it true?
I didn't even check. Multiple people had said it in these, like one was in a paper and one was in this presentation and then one was in a popular article from the Lightwater website. So I just assumed that was just one of those things like
it's got to be true,
because it's not a controversial thing to say. It's kind of just like you
would have to check. And
it makes sense though, because if you think about it, carbohydrates are more water soluble. Not that would necessarily mean anything, but they have a different relationship with water. So how they're formed, you could see how attaching hydrogens, which a lot of them are coming from molecular water, to a lipid might, because of the hydrophobic interactions, might like have a more disfavorable integration of the heavy hydrogens, versus something that's hydrophilic. That makes sense to me, but I would have to like look up the biophysics of it. But yeah, I believe that. It makes sense. It doesn't seem like a crazy thing to say.
Makes sense. Okay. So are you sold on the idea then? Are we buying Lightwater from now on or what? That's the big question. All that sciencey talk, Kyle fucking Schumacher, we are trying to figure out, are we going to buy the deuterium depleted water or not?
I think,
or am I going to drink water out of my freezer every day now or not?
Yeah.
That's
when
what
it comes to deuterium depleted water, I think we should buy high and sell low.
You son of a bitch. You son of a bitch.
Because we get one of those factories, right? And you buy high. You buy what?
Yeah, we get it. We get it.
And you deplete that.
Stop it.
I would be interested if it tastes any different, because
it does. It does.
That makes sense.
I mean, honestly, for a lack of a better word, I would say that it tastes light. But seriously, though, it really does.
Does it taste like
it just
light
tastes
bean?
Like vanilla. Have you ever had like just like a really good spring water, and it kind of tastes lighter, I mean literally, than like a glass of tap water or some shit, or just some regular water. It's just like sort of, to me, it reminds me of like a very, very like a Evian fucking spring water, but light. It really does taste light.
That's interesting. Yeah, and with the spring, I wonder what the mineral content is, or if it's purely distilled with the light water.
That's a good question, because I'm pretty sure
that makes a difference in the taste.
Yeah, but I think I think it has to be. Doesn't it have to be distilled for it to be whatever technically deuterium depleted water?
I mean,
So I
you
don't
could
know.
just have minerals in
But then
there.
the question is like, what if you use that for to say, let's say, make coffee or anything else? Well, you're still getting less deuterium, right? Because yeah, okay. I'm trying to think. You know, like, who's gonna fucking drink 1.5 liters? Well, I guess you could drink 1.5 liters of
cola.
that water. Liter cola. Yeah. I don't know. You got to try it. You haven't tried it yet.
Yeah, I've never it hasn't been on my radar. I am actually in a Facebook group for deuterium depleted water. I think they sell a home device, which is beginning to sound more and more fake.
Oh, yeah, that sounds fake as fuck, dude. No way.
Yeah. I should start Ray Peat.
That sounds as realistic as your bathtub theory there,
Ray
buddy.
Peat deuterium depletion inspired. Let's see. Okay, so I'm just gonna.
So what about all those like cancer European? Oh, you're gonna do okay. Last question, then we can do the questions. What about all those like I said, there are places in Europe that they do the cancer fucking clinics with they only give you deuterium depleted water, blah blah blah. Have you looked at any of that stuff?
No, I just saw that is a thing that people do, and it seems like it's one of the it never reached. It's really interesting alternative ideas because, say, red light, that has been basically accepted by the mainstream. It's not like your doctor's not going to talk about red light, but nobody's out there.
But it's not.
Yeah, nobody's out there saying, "Oh, that's fake." I mean, I guess some people might be like, "Okay, yeah, but that's not gonna."
Let's be realistic.
That's not gonna make a
but
big
those
difference.
are like the uber scientific type of dudes. You know what I'm saying?
And so I think that deuterium depleted water is actually, by the mainstream, a more accepted potential therapy.
Yeah.
I think the only thing holding
but
it
it's
back.
Certainly not that popular.
Yeah, what's holding it back is the impracticability of it and just.
Yeah.
It's like the idea of CO2. It's like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But like, there's so much air on Earth and there's not that much CO2. Like, so yeah, like if you could just live in a time with the dinosaurs when the CO2 pressure was like 5 times what it is now, that might be really cool, and that might have some health benefits.
But it's not practical. I gotcha. Well, it's not. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean the bag breathing thing, like that's cool, and
yeah, deuterium depleted water.
That was actually one of the things that really bothered me about the early anti-maskers, is they were like, it builds up CO2 pressure, so I can't wear my mask. And I was like, because I actually had surgical masks before COVID because I wore them for CO2.
That's funny.
And then people are turning around.
Oh my
they
God.
Uno reverse carded me. Okay. Somebody said the Greek island Ikaria is a blue zone. Okay, that sounds sea level.
Yeah.
Matt sent his spring water from North Idaho in for deuterium testing, and it came back around 130. Okay, so that's
depleted. That's technically deuterium depleted.
It is, yeah.
Very
What's that
cool.
like? 7% maybe. Because if you say 150, so that would be 20 out of 150 would be, it would be about 7%. Dude, tears. Related to this by chance, James Mitchell and his colleagues describe how dietary methionine restriction prolongs life through the action of endogenously produced hydrogen sulfide. See, is it that, or is it just not the mTOR activation? Because I thought that was pretty well sort of argued out and demonstrated as well. Which is, by the way, that's what I think most of the caloric restriction is just basically, unfortunately, living and growth, in particular growth, is a sort of a Faustian bargain where you got to die. So that
but I don't want to.
Yeah. So it's like, the Braveheart speech, like if you don't activate mTOR, you live.
Your Bruce Lee impression was much better.
For a while. But if you could,
terrible.
if you could trade all of those years of having no muscles,
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yes.
for one chance, just one chance.
Yes.
To activate mTOR.
I don't know, man. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff happening. It's not just the methionine, eh? Yeah.
Big protein. Frenbolone book of Deuteronomy. Deuterium.
This is good. This is good.
Jobterium. Uh-oh.
What?
I don't know. I guess I'm unemployed right now. You're as cold as ice, but one day you'll pay the price.
You're as cold as ice.
Who cares? The sun is going to burn out anyway. So true.
So true.
Grand rising feather.
Feather. That's from my fucking Instagram.
How was your most recent shamanic ceremony? I guess that's for you.
Oh, it was so good. It was renal. It was the sky was indigo and the feathers were floating above. Okay, fucking next question.
We need deuterium influencer, deuterium.
Oh,
I agree.
There's a lot of puns today. What's going on here?
Yeah. Wow. There's a lot of comments. Is it that B vitamins increase angiogenesis and increase cancer size?
But the big point is that you're saying it fucking. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I actually don't know if it. So what I was told by this B vitamin person was that it just aids cell growth and division. So there are some parts of division that are specific. Like I forget whether it's methyl tetrafolate, motherfucker dependent.
Yes.
Or which matter. B vitamin it is, but there's certain things that would actually. So the B vitamins help. Cells need them, but there's certain processes that cancer cells would be like doing more. So if you gave the specific B vitamin that helps with that process, then you would get kind of like a supercharged. And I don't remember it being angiogenesis because that's more of like a tissue than a cellular. Well, I guess it's it's the vessel cells. But how does caffeine protect against radiation? This is in Ray Pete's caffeine article. I don't know. I didn't read his caffeine article.
I read it, but fucking 20 years ago. I don't know, dog. Wasn't it one of those things where it's like caffeine protects against fucking everything? Yeah. In rat studies. So,
well, because it's like thyroid. So I mean, I guess if you consider caffeine increases your metabolism, just like deuterium depletion, which also protects against radiation. Somebody said, I thought Gerald Pollack was doing studies, maybe not clinical ones yet. No, he doesn't. He does like. Not even cell stuff. He does biophysics. I mean, now he mostly just studies water, but he was studying proteins and alternate mechanistic explanations for how they work with that zipping model that he had with the calcium and the.
I haven't paid attention to him in a long time.
Yeah, cells, gels, and the turbines, the engines of life. Professor Dave has some words for G. Pollock. Check it out. Who's Professor Dave? These people are talking to each other.
Oh.
It's like a back and forth, like acting like they're asking me.
Yeah.
Kyle just single-handedly created deuterium-depleted water black market. Biohackers will be using their chest freezers for this method instead of cold plunging in them. I mean, yeah.
It's coming.
Doesn't food contain regular water, so depleting drinking water is a moot point?
Yes. Well, the idea is just you have less because you're also drinking water. But that is the funny thing, right? With the super hardcore repeaters, right? Because they don't drink any fucking water.
Well, yeah, I guess they drink milk and fruit. It's juice.
So they would have to have like deuterium depleted milk.
Well, I think that animals probably there's like milk and fruit water and stuff like that probably has lower deuterium than the water that it's feeding because of the biological processes would probably just selectively, and maybe not by that much, but I would bet pretty heavily by some amount, maybe even just single digits, but by some amount, organic water is probably... Would
certain foods have more deuterium compared to other ones, like, say, starches compared to fruits, compared to...
Oh, well, like they said with the carbohydrate thing, so I guess the carbohydrate part... I guess the hydrophilic parts of a plant would have more than the hydrophobic parts of the plant in general. But
and those are
everything except
would
the
be.
fats. So basically, the organism is, or the tissues are pretty hydrophilic, except for fat stores, or stores of, if there's like stores of cholesterol somewhere, stuff like that.
Long story short, though, if you're really sold on the deuterium thing, you kind of have to go along with their diet advice of low carb ketosis shit.
I guess so. Doesn't Danny use beet sugar because it's produced
I've heard him say
at
that.
altitude
Is it like
higher than, because sugar cane is all from like the Caribbean and stuff, and that's all at sea level. So the sugars, the sugar molecules, the fructose and the glucose and the sucrose would have like the most deuterium of like any food. Not that it would be that much higher, but it would just be like
a little bit less
higher than and
do you think that makes sense? I remember him posting about that or something.
I think it definitely makes sense. I mean, it's just like if you just had like a column that graded things by weight, so lower down things are heavier and they float up if they're lighter. I mean, if you pick anywhere along that column, here and here, you'd expect more of the heavy stuff here. It might not be that much, at the very, very, very bottom, and at the very, very, very top, you'd have a big difference. But that's probably not what's going on with a lot of these food things. A lot of the food things are probably like here and here on the column, where it's like, okay, it's a 1% difference, it's a 2% difference.
Yes.
At the end of the day, do you think this is something that most people should concern themselves with? No, I don't think most people should concern themselves with health stuff. What do you mean, most people as in actually most people, or most people as in most people that would watch one of my like 2 or 3 hour YouTube discussions? Because
most people, Kyle, stop being fucking answer the question.
I don't think most people should. If there's a normal person who is not anal about what they eat and they're relatively healthy, and they're not like 18 or something, they're like 27 or 34 or something, some age where like you might have gotten a health condition or something, or even older, and you're pretty healthy and you have like a pretty healthy life and a healthy relationship with food, that kind of person shouldn't. I mean,
it's not even
if they can like do something that helps them a little bit without it messing up their life, that's good. But there's just
there are bigger stones to turn, right?
Just
eating like better quality food, right? Just drinking like better quality water, not necessarily fucking deuterium depleted water, blah blah blah.
And for somebody like
sleeping,
for a regular person, I mean, being able to like sleep good, or being able to chill out with their friends a couple times a week and have like
will make much bigger
a job that
fucking
makes them not want to kill themselves. And
so
that's kind of what I think is probably more important. If you want to get crazy, you could refreeze. Yeah, okay. We're talking about the frozen thawed water again. Is deuterium even worth mitigating with the amount of stress it requires? Well, it depends if it stresses you.
I mean, hey, if you're a rich kid and you can afford the $20 bottled water every once in a while. But then again, like we said, there's bigger terms. But if you hate your fucking job and you're drinking deuterium depleted water and every day at your job you're like, I might fucking break this bottle and cut myself here, then yeah, probably not worth it. Or it's not going to make a big difference.
A few people had asked about Ray's latest dietary change with the low protein, like 50 grams or something. And he's eating more vegetables. And he specifically recommends that for older people. I didn't see that, so I'm just going off of what people are saying. I know Ray has talked about the dangers of protein for a while. He also talks about, how a low protein diet isn't good either. Because he basically doesn't like the idea of, because some amount of protein, regardless, even if you're eating a high carbohydrate diet, is going to be used for gluconeogenesis, and you're going to have ammonia. And we have all kinds of systems for dealing with that, but it seems like the kidneys basically have an amount they can filter, and then you like if you lived forever or something, your kidneys would fail. That's what it seems like, just based on like the medical science and what it looks like, what old people's kidneys like. Like basically, there's organs and glands that kind of regenerate and seem to you have to do something to them to mess them up, and then there's ones that just kind of seem to, like muscle, like what's it called? Sarcopenia.
Sarcopenia.
Yeah. Now, there's lifestyle things you can do to make that happen slower and stuff.
But it's gonna happen.
Strictly speaking, I mean, if you're a 65-year-old guy and you lifted weights since you were 18, to think that like you're gonna at the same body weight like curl the same weight or be able to have the same.
Not if you're using the basic.
Right. Yeah.
But yes, I'm following you, bro.
So so I think the nephrons of the kidney are sort of like that. They do age and they kind of get like used. So
have you been around older people a lot, like grandparents and stuff, that it seems like people just naturally as they get older want to eat less meat and less protein,
that's
blah blah
true,
blah. Like,
but there's actually there's people that think that's bad and that try to because I think the explanation for that is that their taste goes
away
down,
for it.
and so the free amino acids, which actually to us, compared to an old person, a steak would taste as if it had soy sauce on it because we're tasting more of the free amino acids, really, because our receptors for the umami are more sensitive than theirs. So for a piece of meat to taste as umami to a really old person who has had their taste ability decrease like that, you would have to put on like I said, soy sauce or like the Worcestershire sauce or something like that, something with a lot of free amino acids and salt.
But still, you don't think it has nothing to do with just the natural tendencies? What I'm saying, because
well, yeah, it's natural, but I mean, so is dying, so it's like.
Oh yeah. But the point is, so the question is, kind of the big question is, should you, as you're getting older, be still trying to consume at least the same amount of protein, not like pushing it to the extreme level of like 200 grams, but just, because Ray's recommendation, fair to say, right? It's always been around 100 grams. That's has been his regular recommendation for, as far as I remember reading 15 fucking years ago, it was always around 90 grams, 100 grams, something close to that, right?
Yeah.
And so the question is, as you're getting into Ray's age, where you're basically senile at this point, I'm just kidding. Should you
now listen, trying to piece of shit.
I'm sorry, bro. I almost fell asleep.
Listen, you fucker.
Stop doing it, bro. You're putting me to sleep. Should you still be trying to consume at least, let's say close to that, or should you be following your natural instincts and maybe eating less protein? And
that's a good question, because
that's the question. That's what people are really interested in.
My position on that kind of question, like, is the change that you're feeling in your body as you get older natural, as in good or evolved or whatever? I don't think so necessarily. I think that your instincts when you're younger are better indicators than when you're older, because when you're because we're evolved to like reproduce, so like to be crude or whatever, evolution is more interested in somebody like me or you or even younger people having sex than an old person who's no longer fertile. So our urges, it's like, and the same thing with like things having to do with health. So like if you feel hunger or you feel tired or stuff when you're younger, I think your body is more tuned to what it needs to do to like keep things going. Whereas as you get older, I think things are just breaking down, and some things are breaking down together. So maybe your protein requirement goes down, and okay, that's convenient because your desire to eat protein goes down too. But I don't think there's any reason to necessarily conclude or presuppose
that just because it feels natural, you should,
or that all the body systems are gonna relax into a lower state at the same time.
Yeah, so we have to think about it. So it's, pretty much universally, it's like accepted that you're having more protein, you will, even if you're having, the same amount of calories, blah, 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 you'll be better at, your protein synthesis will be better, you'll be having more muscle, blah, 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 blah. So maybe it does seem that even if you are older and even if you're having that urge or whatever to not eat that much protein, maybe you should still try to be eating a little bit more protein than the average old folk at the retirement home.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's good at all to do the like I'm old and I don't feel like eating or I don't feel like sleeping. Like you should.
Yeah.
And not only is it not good, it's also like a sign of something bad. Like, when people start to lose their appetite.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's be honest. A lot of people just don't give a fuck at that age. I don't know if you've ever met old people
and
like
that's
that, but
cool
I have
too.
a lot. Oh, it's totally cool. Do you? But let's be honest. It's like you said. It's not they're doing it because they're. You know what? I think I feel better when I sleep 3 hours and don't eat anything. It's not like they're
just
thinking
have a
that
can
way,
of
right?
Coke and like a thing of sardines.
Yeah, or those like protein shake things that old people drink.
Yeah. Ensure.
Those like. Oh yeah, like I had an Ensure. I'm full. I woke up at 4 today, and it's like Jesus Christ. So yeah. So okay, so it makes sense. So, like I said, if it's universally accepted in normal people, younger people, that protein helps you out, probably still a good idea to at least try to get that protein as you're older. Because like we said, I feel like a lot of old people, they just don't eat, right?
I don't know what Ray's argument is, though. I mean, if he's saying maybe he has some type of reason to believe that protein requirements go down quite a bit, and therefore,
Well, the whole methionine and the other whatever collagen not like proteins, I forgot what they are, dude. But that whole idea of things, avoiding those as much as you can. That's also another question, right?
Right.
Should you be trying to avoid those and still maybe still trying to get your protein, but I guess have more collagen-like substances as you're older, if you're really concerned about growth or whatnot. Getting your oxtail soup in there.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that there's pretty good data about resistance training and preserving the muscle and the bone density. I mean, you don't have to do anything crazy. You could just do like
the training things are better. The studies on that are better than on nutrition in older people, because they've done studies on like 90-year-olds, and like a lot of them. There's a lot of studies like that, 80, 90-year-olds, whatever. And yeah, as you said, they work.
Yeah.
That's probably also another reason why old people don't eat as much, because a lot of them are just sitting around all fucking day, right? Doing nothing. So, yeah.
Ground pepper is super moldy. Okay.
Ground pepper is bullshit.
He's back from his deuterium.
Deuterium? You thought I was? Nah, that would have been the quickest poop in the world. I need like a fucking hour.
Really like the new video stress. Thank you. Best strategy to reduce iron for an elderly woman. Dithionite.
Oh boy.
Just kidding.
Dithionite. That'll kill you.
That's a powerful reductant. To decrease, I really want to put this meme out there that people should say decrease iron. Okay. Because
nobody will get it. Nobody will get it.
So I don't think that so an elderly woman is in the same boat as a man. So you could give blood.
Okay. Listen, first questions first. What do you think of the whole? That's a very popular health topic right now. If you were talking about popular health stuff that's in the mainstream, iron stuff that's pretty popular right now. What are your thoughts, sir? Should you be giving blood once a month? I love when Ray talks about it. And then one time I remember I was listening to a fucking podcast, or, obviously not a podcast, a radio thing, whatever. And then they were like, do you do that? And he was like, oh, no, I haven't touched a needle in 30 years or something like that, in like 30 years. And you're like, oh, okay, cool, man. So like, so it's not that important, I guess.
That's funny.
But yes, I don't know. It was probably 10, 15 years ago. Long time ago. Yes, sir.
I think.
What are your thoughts on the whole iron?
That the things that has been done scientifically is like twice a year, like once every 6 months, to give the normal amount. What's the amount of blood that is normal to like if you're donating blood? I forget.
No fucking clue.
I haven't done it for a long time. I think I told the story, but the last time I had a blood thing, it was because my friend was doing a blood glucose sweetener study when I was in graduate school, and I volunteered, and it was like once a week for 4 weeks, and I would get a ton of blood taken out.
Once a week?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't as much as
Holy
blood
fuck.
donation. It was like, you know, like a full blood panel where they fill like 8 of those vacuum tubes.
Yeah, but
Like
yeah.
that.
Okay.
Maybe even a little more than that, once a week for a month.
How'd you feel on that shit?
Well, towards the end, you really do start to get a little pale.
Lightheaded, right? Yeah.
It was good though, and I got paid because, you know, they
Have you
for something like that.
Tell me you've seen this movie. David Spade, and then one of the brothers, the black brothers that are together always doing funny shit, the
Wayans.
Wayne brothers. Yeah. He
I don't
like
think so.
volunteer. He's trying to make money.
Is it Joe
Somebody
Dirt?
tell me if they. Oh, fuck out of here, dude. The Wayne brother is not in there. It's all about guy with a mullet. No. He is like trying to get money. He's going to college and he's trying to make money. So he volunteers for also a study, and they give him some sort of fucking whatever, a drug that gives him these like superpower things. But the superpower is like it increases his senses. So he can see really, really well. He can hear extremely well. He can taste things. He can fucking. You know what I'm talking about?
I remember the trailers for it. I don't think I saw it.
Oh, well, I don't know if it's good, but back in the day, it was just a goofy, you know, like kind of you get high and fucking watch this show, this movie kind of movie. But there's a scene in it where he's before he volunteers for the trial that gives him money. He's trying to make money, so he goes to a blood donation clinic, and he's going like also every week, but he like shows up in a different fucking costume. He's like an Indian guy one day, and then the last one, he just like comes in and he just falls over because he just like can't do it anymore. So anyway, just reminded me of that scene. So I thought that was you.
Yeah. So
Anyway.
I do think that the whole trying to get your iron down is good because it makes sense to me theoretically, because iron, I consider iron like oxygen. So it's something, and they work together too. So they're super related. Like basically the purpose of iron, among other things, but its really big purpose, the purpose that you die if it just disappeared immediately from your body, is shuttling around oxygen. So oxygen and iron are both really reactive. And they're like this pair, and you totally need them for your cells to make energy, to respire. And also for other things, but that's like the thing that you need all the time. And outside of the things you need them for, you just don't want them around.
You don't need extra.
Like and you don't want extra. Like any extra iron, any extra oxygen that's not shepherded or chaperoned with things that keep it from reacting with stuff or from going into the wrong place is just bad. So because we need them so much, if you think about like from an evolutionary perspective or whatever, like game theory, let's say having too much oxygen in the system, too much iron in the system makes you die a few years earlier, okay? Or it makes you a little bit less healthy for your life. But having not enough, you just die. Like if you bleed a certain amount, there's a certain amount you can bleed where it's like you don't have enough blood to shuttle enough oxygen to keep your brain alive anymore. That's it. And the same thing with oxygen. Like if you're getting strangled to death, right? There's a certain amount of oxygen where you just, okay, I've not had oxygen for a certain amount of time. Now I am dead. So if you think of it that way, it's asymmetric. And so the tendency would be for the body to have systems to have more of this thing that it can't do without. Because on the other end of that is like a chronic damage from having too much of it or to having it in the not the correct places, you know, not the appropriate places or whatever. That's not an immediate problem. That's not a I'm dead. That's a in 20 years I have a little bit less good health or something, or I have like atherogenesis because I have a bunch of iron and I smoke with cigarettes and they, you know, and it causes plaques and stuff. So so anyway, what I'm saying is in our modern world, like back in the day, you would if you got a laceration or something and bled a ton of blood before you were able to stop it, you can't get blood at, you know, there are no hospitals and there's no bandages, right? Like just like, you know, 10,000 years ago. So our bodies are just really good at holding on to iron. And so just from that perspective, without any kind of like Because the studies are like, yeah, it slows down the progression of like atherogenesis or something like that in
Okay. Studies are studies.
yeah.
I get you. Uh-huh.
But so I think it makes sense that basically if you can have enough of these molecules that are super reactive to do what they need to do,
Hmm.
and then to get rid of what would be considered excess, yeah, that's good.
Because in our modern world, we're not deprived of iron. It's in
Right.
cereal. Most people eat meat, whatever, right? So,
And the same thing with oxygen.
mhm.
You know, we probably don't, because you exhale a lot of the oxygen you inhale. So we don't actually need ambient oxygen level as it is now. You know, because obviously you can go up into the mountains where it's lower and you can still be okay. I mean, takes a day to get used to it, and then you're fine. So, yeah. Hey, look, speaking of CO2, if you were going to a high CO2 place like hiking up a mountain, what could someone do to prevent altitude sickness? Vitamin B1 question mark? Never thought about that.
I don't know, dude. The serious insane motherfuckers who hike these crazy mountains that I know, and they are all insane people. I don't know. They really say there's really nothing you can do. You just got to get used to it. You just get better at doing it. You just got to
Well,
do
you
it
could
probably. I think that's the
you
biggest
could
thing.
prep with like doing like a kind of serious bag breathing or like some type of CO2 retention practice where you take yourself into a place where you start to feel slightly uncomfortable and just, you know, and see if you can like get used to it.
Do that multiple times a day. Yeah, but still, yeah. The things like I said, the crazy guys, they just say you gotta do it. Well, build up to it like anything, right?
Yeah, because the main thing
Like
that
your
happens,
resistance training.
is you get more red blood cells. So I mean, you could call up, you could email the CEO of EPO.
Oh God. Oh Jesus Christ! Is it Lance Armstrong? Is he the CEO or
No,
who is it?
remember, that's what
Or is it what's his name?
that's what
Hold on.
Danny's favorite fighter, Colby Covington, calls
TJ
that
Dillashaw.
African guy, the
Oh,
welterweight
the
champion.
champion?
Yeah,
Oh, Usman?
yeah.
He calls him that? I forget. He calls him that too?
Yeah, Colby calls Usman the CEO of EPO.
Colby goes hard in the paint, dude. Florida represent, Kyle. God damn it, man.
Oh, is Covington from?
Oh yeah.
My
I don't know if he's from, but that's where his at least hold on. He changed camps. He's not an American top team anymore, but he still lives in Florida. He's the king of Florida. Is at Miami, as he says.
Oh, Miami. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Somewhere in Miami
That
down
place.
there. No.
God, people are still typing. Wasn't mTOR
Well,
theory of David Sinclair disproven? I don't know about that.
listen. Fuck David Sinclair. That's all I got to say about that.
The thing with mTOR, it may be the idea that it was like the most important thing for aging might have been some evidence against that, but the thing is like mTOR theory. Like, I don't know what mTOR theory is. I know that mTOR is a real protein. There's two of them, and that they do real things. Now, whether that's like super duper important for human aging or not, that's a theory. So, you know, just to clarify the little language there. Jello is a good source of protein. Hospital approved. So true. So true. Ray's doing it because he's found he needs less thyroid hormone when he lowers his protein and increases the protein to carb ratio to around.
So how much is he taking? A half a pound now instead of a pound?
1 to 7.
How much?
Really? So that's. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So if he's doing 50 grams of protein, then that's. Wait, so that's 400 grams of. Oh, okay, that makes sense. 400 grams of carbohydrate, because 1 to 7, so 50 times 7. But some calories taught. Bro, it was a good comment. 1 pint.
Which one?
450 milliliters. I don't know. I'm just stream of consciousness reading them now. Senseless is the name of the movie. Oh, Senseless is the name of the movie.
Senseless. Look, somebody's seen it. Legend.
19.
Who is it?
98, 6% on Rotten Tomatoes.
God damn, it's 6%. Oh my god, dude.
Wow, wrecked.
Listen, it was good. It was funny back in the day. It's that Wayans Brothers, where he's being goofy as fuck. But it was funny back in the day. You know where I watched it the first time? In Russia, with the Russian dubs. Dubs? Yeah. Over dubs? Is that the word?
Dubs?
I feel like retarded.
Yes. Yeah.
Dubs. Yeah.
Do you think calcium carbonate in hard water is harmful?
Calcium carbonate in hard water. So like those the bottled sparkling waters that are from Germany,
or just any water
Deutschland?
that has that mineral in it. Because some, like if you have a well or something, and your water can have a higher amount of calcium carbonate. I don't know, because calcium and carbonate are fine things to have in certain parts of the body. I don't know if having that consistently in your drinking water is going to get those fine things into those. Somebody said I need glasses. Yeah, well, look, I'm leaning. I'm actually, my monitor is.
He's not in his regular
quite
setup.
far.
Jesus.
But actually, I have glasses for distance reading. So like my monitor, if I lean back like this.
What's your minus, dog? How many minus?
Oh,
you got in them? Not much. If you're just using them.
It's the shit. I just got my eyes tested last year.
Minus 1.7 or some shit like that, or minus 7.5.
It may be like 1.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's basically like if I sit in the back rows of a movie theater, it would be hard for me to read the text without glasses, Yeah. Same, or like in a classroom, like if I sit in the back of a class, like if I'm not in the front rows of a classroom on the blackboard, it gets like fuzzy, like in the middle, and then towards the back, it gets almost unreadable.
I feel you, just a little bit. I gotcha.
But yeah, if I lean back like this, the way my monitor is right now with like the webcam on it, it's like the comments feed is just at the beginning to be blurry, so I can read it fine, but if I see a word that I'm not 100% sure about, because I don't, it's like science terms and shit.
It's okay. Lean in, bro.
I'm just like,
so what's the next question? Come on.
It's
gotcha. I support this. We are a leaning in towards the monitor supporting channel is what we are here.
What is the best general strategy to increase cellular respiration?
Oh, I was like, that's the question? I was like, oh. Cellular respiration?
I mean, I don't know, man. Like, isn't that like Ray's body of work?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Isn't that like everything that Ray talks about? Eat carbs.
Yeah.
Don't get on a low carbohydrate diet.
Yes, that is the easiest way.
That's like a big stone, right? That's a big stone. But then if you want to be a deuterium-depleted diet, then you got to be on that fucking.
Isn't that funny? It's like it's like CO2 versus D2O.
Yes.
Depletion.
Yes. Hold on, you brought up calcium too. How much calcium does fucking Ray recommend? A bazillion? Like how much? Like a lot, right? He recommends a lot of calcium. 2,000 milligrams. I don't know.
I like a gram, at least maybe, because I think he was talking about eggshell calcium and stuff, and he was saying like 1,000.
What's eggshell calcium? That's calcium what?
That's carbonate.
That's carbonate. Yeah. Okay. So then some of those people aren't some of the same people that, like Ray, also avoid water because of the calcium carbonate, because it's bad for you? Am I wrong about that?
I guess that is what the questioner was referencing. Okay. But unfortunately,
yes,
I do not consume all of the Ray Pete content of the current year.
Brother, I don't either, but it's just me. It's just like I said, that's like an easy one, Calcium.
I should though, and it's unfortunate, but like,
I don't know.
I'm sort of like a I'm a crystallized archive, like a historical archive of what Ray said until I was reading his website and trying to find every old podcast he talked about, and I've listened to them and stuff until 2017 or something, like 2016, something like that.
Yeah.
So stuff he said after that, I'll glance.
But it hasn't really changed much, really, man.
Well, he did the mushrooms thing. He did the olive oil thing recently.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think maybe Danny is great at asking new questions. Maybe, you know, they try to bring on new things to talk about. But as far as like, I guess this is the one big diet advice that has changed in the last few years, the 50 grams of thing.
That's true.
Which I haven't heard. But otherwise, it's always, you know, I'll pop in on one radio network every once in a while. The Patrick Timpone with a really relaxing voice that thinks the Earth is flat, and then he'll just ask Ray the questions. It's always like, yeah, just, you know,
ask your herb doctor.
Temperature and thyroid. Yeah, ask. Yeah.
With like the shamanic Indian music intro. It's like panpipe or something.
No. Patrick Timpone, like a white bearded gentleman. The cover is like him holding a red.
But they're one radio network.
But it's like doo 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 doo. That's the fucking intro. The intro's like doo doo doo. It's like drums.
Oh, but in between, don't they have music in between shows? Because sometimes the recordings.
Probably old. That's probably old ones. I don't know. I'm telling you recent ones. I'm telling you recent ones. It's always just do 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 boom, and then welcome to one radio.
Because I remember
network.
finding those episodes, and they would not be clipped perfectly, so it would have like 5 minutes of before the show started, and it would be like commercials, and it would have music, and it would have like soothing like pan pipe, pan flute, Indian music.
Probably old ones. I don't remember. I just know the recent ones. The music, I kind of dig it because his voice is relaxing. He has a nice voice, that Patrick Timpone.
Yeah.
I'll say
Alexander
that.
Wilkinson says cellular reparations.
Ouch.
How essential is sunlight for cellular respiration? That's a good question. I mean, some people are saying that it's very important. And I mean, people respire who don't go outside very much. So if that's kind of the low end, but I mean, what if somebody was completely kept in the dark? You know, a case study of that was
oh no,
that
is it gonna be that girl that was turned into a dog? She was living with dogs.
Is, you know, the WikiLeaks guy.
Yeah, Assange.
Yeah, wasn't
Assange.
he like
Julian.
not seeing the sun for like 5 years or something?
Yeah. He looks like Santa Claus, like a pale Santa Claus now. Yeah.
So he's probably lost his mind.
Yeah. I bet you would.
Ray really likes Patrick too. Told him to take care or something like that after one episode.
Oh, that's my favorite. Like, well, no, that's one episode then.
Yeah.
Because usually Patrick's like, all right, thank you so much for coming on, and you have yourself a wonderful day. And he's like, and then Ray just goes, okay. That's it. He just goes, okay.
I think my favorite that his like going away is yeah.
He just goes, okay, but yes, that person who commented that is right, because there is a few where Ray will go, oh, you too, or something like that. You're like, oh my God, holy fuck. His girlfriend must have blown him today, you know? Like, you're thinking, like, what happened? Did they pour orange juice on each other and just go at it before the show? They're fucking good mood today. Because it's really funny. He just goes, okay. That's it. Oh, it's the best. Or also at the beginning when he asks him, how are things? How are you doing? He's like, oh okay. It's just always okay. Oh, it's the best. It makes me fucking laugh.
One Patrick close to Christmas said, Ray, are you excited for Santa Claus? And Ray was like, oh yes. It was so funny. Oh hey, can I ask my question about
Oh yeah, dude. What do we want to talk about? Yes,
so,
sir.
At some point, like, I don't remember exactly when it started, but it was probably at least 2 months ago. So it's like a really weirdly long amount of time for a muscle pain. And it's like a pure muscle pain. Like, it doesn't feel like a joint pain at all. You know, and it was definitely from the Muay Thai. And it was definitely from, like, you know, throwing kicks and stuff, because the stretch.
High tension.
The stress of the, not just the stress, but also the impact, right? If you're kicking hard,
well, it's all of it. You're doing a stretch and you're trying to load it. It's everything.
And then when you hit something, right? You're basically kind of doing a very minor isometric
And then honestly, a lot of people get injured going back too, because you would think the scariest part is the actual hit. Sometimes guys will hit. You ever see that? Guys will hit and they'll step back, and then their leg will just collapse, or their ankle will crack, or Anderson Silva's fucking case. It snapped, I think, on the bone, and then. But it happens a lot of times where after that impact, then they try to put another impact on it, which is just stepping back, and it just goes. So sometimes that can happen. Anyway, I'm going off in the fucking deep end. So you've been feeling your adductors, right, in the groin area there?
Yeah, basically.
You want to show us? Can you? No.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I really need it as a massage, but.
I'll be there in 12 hours.
So I started feeling basically because I never did. Just to be absolutely sure, one of the times last week when I was doing legs, I got on one of those adductor machines.
Yeah. And you felt it.
And I felt it, and then I also fatigued the other side, the left side. So this is my right side, which is the side I kick with more. Makes sense. And so basically what I felt on my left side after doing that adductor fatiguing resistance training that I don't usually do was pretty similar. That's like a less strong version. So basically I have what feels like a sore adductor all the way from the groin all the way down to like halfway down the thigh or a little bit more, however long it is. It just kind of feels like it's going to be there forever. And it doesn't feel like anything like tore, or it doesn't look different. It doesn't feel different. And it didn't seem to happen from like one, because sometimes when I would do.
That's most injuries, brother. That's most injuries.
But there are times like with the roundhouse thing where if I hit a certain part of my foot, I would basically feel a very minor sprain on my foot and ankle for like a week or two. And I was like, okay, I knew the exact time that happened. Whereas this was just like 1 week, I just started kind of
chronic.
It. Yeah. And so I haven't thrown a kick because where I've been lifting at up in New Jersey, it's not a decent gym and everything, but they don't have a good heavy bag. They have like one bag that's hanging, but it's one of those things in the middle of a big set of gym machines where there's it's like who can like throw strikes, especially kicks. I mean, but even with punches, it feels like you're going to be in somebody's way. It's just in the middle of like a bunch of cable things.
Is it LA Fitness?
No, it's just like a local small town place.
Okay. They do that sometimes though.
Yeah. So
what I would tell you is do some isometric. Those adductor machines, they're for that part, just don't make any eye contact with anybody while you're using it. But they are pretty good. But what I would do is instead of doing full abduction obviously, I would just put on a weight that you can hold for 20 seconds and do some actually isometric holds on that. Start with that. Just start with that. You're obviously not going to go to the gym every day. You could do this, I think they call it a Copenhagen plank, perhaps. You get into a side plank. You know what a side plank is? You know what I'm saying, right? Okay, regular plank, elbows on the floor, feet on the floor. Side plank, one elbow on the floor. You're turned obviously to the side, so your chest is parallel to the wall, right? Mm-hmm. You get a chair out here, and instead of having your feet on the chair, right, you put the foot that's on top on. I'm sorry. Instead of having your feet on the floor, you put the foot that's on top on the chair.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? And what's supporting you is that adductor.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying?
So you could kind of use it to lift yourself up if you wanted to.
That's exactly what you're doing. Yeah. And so, but instead of doing it for reps, which you could do, I would just start with those holds. I think it's called Copenhagen plank. Correct me if I'm wrong, people. But whatever the fuck. I hate all these names. It's like, by the way, Americans love like Turkish get up, Bulgarian split squat. It's always got to come from somewhere, even though like people in Turkey probably have never done that fucking exercise. Really? Anyway, I don't know why it's called the Turkish get up, but anyway. So I would start there, 3 sets, 20 seconds. See how that feels. If it's too much, you could honestly even do it on the floor. You just have to tuck that bottom leg up into your chest and have the top leg, so you're supporting on the inner side of your foot. Make sense? Do that, and then what I would do is actually work your adductors.
I tried that machine too, because I when I did the one, I was like, oh well, I should just do the other. Yep.
A whole sequence of events, how I would do it like this, bro. I would start with a dynamic warm-up. You could kick, but you're not going to don't do the same thing that hurts you for a little bit. That's all. That's just kind of my way of, I have 0 case studies for you on that. But just, like, let's say, support your hands on something, swing your leg through like you're doing a judo sweep. You know what I'm saying? So do that 20, both legs. Do some side kind of, throws. So it's called dynamic warm-up. You know what I'm saying, right? So it's meaning like not stretching, but you're going through the range of motion and you're getting blood in there. So I would do that, number one. Now you're getting into your kind of meat and potatoes where you do your planks. So you do your planks or at adduction machine. Do that 3-4 sets, 20 seconds. Then do your abduction stuff. Okay? And then passive stretching. Light passive stretching. Now this is the part where you're getting in, you're just, let's say you're doing a seated butterfly stretch. You put your hands on your ankles.
What's weird about this is that stretching doesn't really bother me. What bothers it is, like, say my foot is planted and imagine the motion of, like, you want to move your carpet. So you're pushing down with your foot and you're moving the carpet.
That's a good thing, bro, because it means you're not that hurt. Because if a butterfly doesn't bother you, then
it's like when it engages. Like when I go, like if I, especially when I first am using it. So those one-legged split squats you have me do with where you hold the dumbbell.
Yep.
With so if I do right leg forward, then it's just my right quad. But when it's the leg that's behind, so when my right leg's behind, I guess the adductor is getting some kind of work stabilizing. And when I do my first set of that, for some reason, once blood gets in there, it feels better. But it's like, I'm like, whoa.
What I would do instead then is kind of like a groin stretch. Like, think like you're getting fucked, like you're doggy style. You're not fucking, but you're getting fucked. But you just bring your knees out, even wider, keep them at 90, and then you start arching your back and you start tucking it in. Arch it and tuck it in, and that'll murder your groin. But you got to do it in a relaxed. And I'm like scaring you with it. You know what I'm saying now? But it's a great. That will get you. Whatever you're feeling, it'll get you. Here, like this.
Oh yeah. That's like a.
Oh fuck, dude! I'm showing it to my. Yes.
It's like a frog stretch type thing.
Whatever the fuck you want to call it. I hate all these fucking frog. Anyway,
that's an Algerian frog stretch.
So I would do that, and just do that like 3 times a week. 3 times a week. Give it some time. Don't do the same shit that hurts you. Once you start feeling better, then you can start adding a little bit of more isometric work, or after the isometric work, now you could do some actual adduction. Instead of doing a Copenhagen plank where you just hold it, you can do it up and down, work it through. You can honestly take a fucking Swiss ball if it's small enough and just squeeze that fucker in and out, like a small Swiss ball. Or any ball, like a basketball, like a deflated ball you can find at fucking Walmart for whatever, $2. Those like little, whatever, spongy ones. But I would also strengthen your ass, your glutes.
Oh, that's strong.
You could. You got to check. We got to check. I'm not talking about the sphincter, Kyle. I'm talking about the glute. Actually.
Well, okay. I mean,
how we doing?
So, but like squats and deadlifts, right?
Again, they're gonna work that muscle, and if you're hurt and if you're feeling it, I would tell you to not do those 2 moves. I would tell you to do lunges instead, because it's less. You can put less intensity into it, right? You can just do body weight and you get a great leg workout.
Well, if I
right?
don't shift my weight while squatting, I don't engage the adductors. It's kind of like one of those things where if your movement is very smooth.
Listen, if you're doing full range squats, if you're doing it enough, I can give you a workout. Your hamstrings will be sore because they're still working. Like as you're getting down, they're getting a big stretch, and your adductors too. Like if you're doing like a real,
I do. Yeah.
So you do. So what I'm saying is, my point is, I would just not irritate it more right now. Give it a little bit of time. Specifically focus on the adductor, and in the meantime, you could focus on, for example, cyclist squats. You could do a narrow stance, 4 inches apart, feet together.
Hey, what about that squat form that guy? Because it's going around the squat challenge from what's his name? It starts with a P.
Portal.
With a P.
Ido Portal.
No. No. The like 525 pounds for 20 reps.
Oh, every fucking day doing like squats?
The guy who did the 520
Tom Platz?
Yeah, the Platz challenge. That's been going around with like online strong dudes.
What's that been going around? To do what?
To try to get 525 for 20 reps.
Get the fuck out of here. He's a fucking legend, dude.
But have you seen his form? He has like a narrow form. Narrow stance.
He has an Olympic squat. Yeah, an Olympic squat style.
Is that
and he
the
stands
Olympic
in a narrow
style?
Yeah, well, look, when you're training Olympic weightlifting, what the point of Olympic weightlifting, dude, is get the bar from the floor over your head. That's it. Over time, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just pointing out that it didn't develop in the way of like people think that, oh, you got to squat down. It's like, no, it's just, here's the goal. Get the bar from the floor up. And over time, they found out that the easiest way to do that, or, the best way, is to kind of basically throw yourself under the bar, resist it, and stand up with it. So in order to do, because, the heavier weight you get, the less you can throw it up higher. So obviously that the less you can get it up high, the lower you got to get. So that's why I'm saying it's important to be able to squat all the way the fuck down. And a lot of times you'll see those videos of their ass hitting the floor sometimes, right? Which is, now I think you can't do it anymore. But the point is, that's how low they can squat. So, but when they're training, they'll start with like a regular shoulder width apart stance. Usually, everybody has a little bit of a different technique, but overall, it's the same idea. They're able to. That's why they're so flexible. They're able to. They'll throw the bar up, legs coming out. They get down under it. So they actually get into like a wide
have you
stance.
seen the Tom Platz? Because it's like
of course.
It's some classic video. It was like
it's narrow. Yeah, and he also has weightlifting shoes on.
Yeah, he had weightlifting shoes on, and he had a squat suit, which is like this like overall thing. But his stance though, it looked pretty narrow compared to most heavy squatters.
Also, think about this: when you're going wider, what are you working more, ass or glutes? When you're standing wider and you're doing squats, even if you're going below really low as you can.
Oh, I don't know.
What's higher, gluteus or quads? Okay.
Dude, quads would be more narrow, right?
Yeah. Correct. In bodybuilding, what's important, to have a shredded ass or to have shredded thighs?
Well, I guess both, but the quads are more important.
Yeah, but so he figured. I mean, honestly, everybody should be squatting like that, because if you can do that, you can do this.
Yeah.
Vice versa is not true.
It seems like it's a bigger stretch on your knees too.
Of course, and that's why he has healthier knees. I mean, you look at his videos of him now when he's like in his 60s or whatever. I mean, he's still got shredded fucking legs, and he's never knee problems. And the most injured body part in Olympic weightlifting is the shoulder, not the knees. Even though they all can get crazy squats, and you think, oh my God, they're throwing themselves in. No, it's actually the shoulder. Knees are fine. So anyway, his stance, everybody should be squatting or should be able to at least squat like that. The powerlifting thing, it's kind of like pulling sumo. It's fucking gay. Just stop it. Just stop it.
That's crazy. That's crazy though. 500 something for 20.
Oh, it's insane. Yeah, not nobody, but it's insane. I mean, look, there's Olympic weightlifters that could do probably close, but they're just not as massive, because for them, again, it's not about reps, it's about intensity. They just want to get the highest rep possible. But like the guys that are like 115 kilos, 110 kilos, they could probably squat close. They could probably do close. You can watch Klokov. You ever watch Klokov squat? He has a beautiful squat.
I don't think so.
And
maybe.
Dmitry Klokov. If you want to have some squat porn, just pull him up. He has some. This is really, yeah. But Tom,
I like Platz because he's a real character.
He's insane.
Like when he talks on the camera, he's like, I mean,
he'll eat the camera.
You could do leg press, but why?
Yeah.
Why do an inferior movement when you could
have a CD? Yeah, pull up his fucking or DVD. Pull up his fucking. He has like a clinic he's doing in like the 80s or 90s, and he's like showing dudes. Of course, the squat is like the most important and the biggest part of that, so he covers that mostly. But then he'll do leg extension and leg curls, and he'll fucking do leg extensions, dude. It's fucking hilarious, but also insane, because he'll just do he'll put on the whole stack and fucking his legs will like this is his knee joint. It'll go like that. He'll just go as high as you can. And then when he's like done, like he can't get it up anymore, then he'll start. All right, now push the pad down. He'll have a dude
Oh
push the
yeah,
pad
yeah,
down,
yeah.
and
I saw that.
he just does these like not even quarter. It's like a fucking tiny little. He's going for like a minute, bro. I'm not even exaggerating. It's so much fun. Yeah, he's insane, but he's like clinically insane, dog.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's it.
Yeah.
Call it a day. Any questions?
No, I think everybody left. Now,
All right, go fuck
there's
yourself.
been like about like between 15 and 20 some people pretty much the whole time.
Rock and roll.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was good. Deuterium depleted water, the basics. That's the name of this stream.
Yeah. Yeah, in my water I just got the basics. I've got protium, protium, deuterium, tritium, basics. Basics.
Yeah, just the basics. Just the basics. Hey, how soon before they start taking out tritium and selling that?
You can get that in some watches. It's used for the luminescent.
No shit.
Yeah, before
That's
they invented, because like my watch, it has protein. It's actually kind of interesting. They got it from like sea creatures that can luminesce from UV light in the water. So they cloned out the gene for that protein and they infuse it in the components somehow. So like
I never heard of that. That's
before they
interesting.
had that
Dude.
technology, they were like, okay, how can we make watches glow in the dark? And they used tritium because it's not like a very dangerous radioactivity. It's a low key.
Interesting, sir. All right, my man.
Yeah, everybody
good?
tell Danny to get to schedule us in for a UFC stream.
You pulled. It was your fault the first time. We could have had
Was
it going. All right, we'll do it. We'll make it
Which
happen.
one was it my fault?
It's always your fault, dog. I gotta figure out how they do these streams. Maybe we'll do it on my dead channel, which I haven't done anything on in a while. But I don't give a fuck. I'm just saying if you guys want. Okay, we'll make that happen on a good card. Good chat.
Word.
Thanks everybody for watching. Take care.
All right.
Drink some deuterium depleted water for us.
Okay. Be seeing you.